All right, we're back. Awesome. Okay, here we go, everybody. This is going to be Boiler Room 143 on Alternate Current Radio. Here we go.
5, 6.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, lurkers and regulars, friends and foes. Welcome to the Boiler Room, the show that is a guilty pleasure for just about everyone. It may be too anti-war and critical of the statist entities for your neocon and super patriot friends. It may not be conspiratorial enough for your tinfoil hat friends. It may be too conspiratorial for your garden variety prepackaged worldview cable TV watcher friends. It may be too lewd to share with some of your normie friends. But really, I mean, honestly, we're gone for a week and a half, and look how CNN treated you guys while we were gone. Let me remove the stinger there, and
here's what CNN had to say while we were gone.
Why are we having all these people from shithole countries come here? The shitholes.
Shithole.
Shithole. Up is down, black is white, and you probably come from a shithole.
The president referred to countries like Haiti and countries in Africa as a shithole. Haitians and Africans come from shithole countries.
That he referred to Haiti as a, quote, shithole. What he does not deny there is referring to other African countries as shitholes.
Shithole countries.
Shithole countries come here.
He called African countries shitholes.
Shithole and Africa. Shithole.
Why are we taking people from shithole countries in Africa, etc.? Shithole countries. Why are we having all these people from shithole countries come here?
Shithole countries.
I am a proud shitholer. A shitholer. And shitholers. A shithole country.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, all right. Well, CNN, shame on you. Even I think that is a little bit excessive, and I'm hard to offend. I submit to you that you should donate all your swear jar coins to the Boiler Room after that shithole show you engaged in. Even we interweb radio untouchables are offended by that barrage, I would say. At any rate, don't worry. All those folks I mentioned are listening. They're all just not willing to come forth and profess their love of the Boiler Room yet. But never fear, all you closet listeners, one day you'll be able to come out and hang with us and join the Social Rejects Club with pride. And perhaps show your support by donating and sharing the programs here at ACR. Until then, we've got a number of our regular supporters who've shown their appreciation for the broadcast here. My main mixer here in the studio is expressing signs of early onset death wish. It, for no reason, stops putting out any signals via any routes, and there's no rhyme or reason to when it comes back into functionality. Usually it's always something different that brings it back. So last night we got robbed of a Boiler Room opportunity, and it was a bit of a bummer, wasn't it, Spore?
Sure was.
Yeah, but we've persevered. We worked on it for a long time, and there was one person in the chat last night who gave me the idea to pull the fuse out of it and put it back in, so that actually ended up working. So we're back. We're temporarily back, at least for now, until the gremlin rears its ugly head again. So that's the current situation, everybody. We're hoping that the mixer stays stable for us and we can bust on through this Boiler Room, music shows this Saturday, and pull off Sunday Wire on Sunday as scheduled. So that's the plan for the week over here. Sorry for the long housekeeping, but it's been a while since we've been here, and I know some people have been wondering what the hell happened. So, we're looking to replace this mixer and turn this one into a backup or a huge paperweight. We just can't have our shows being shut down by old gear. So we'll soldier on, hope this one holds, and we do need listener support more than usual this week to replace this crucial piece of gear. So Sean, Angie, Matt, Jeffrey, Miles, Sally, Daniel, Trevor, Steven, and Russ all threw in. You guys, you got us on our way to where we need to be. We're not quite close yet, but thank you, and it's a great start. And if you've been considering supporting the show and the network, now's a great time. You can find us on Patreon, PayPal, or crypto at alternatecurrentradio.com/donate. That's how you find out how to help us. All right, let's get into it. Let's do this. God, Boiler Room 143 has been staring at me in my notes for over 2 weeks now. Feels like forever, Spore.
I know, I'm so glad to be back.
Jeez, I don't even know how we're going to hit all the stuff that I've collected over the past couple of weeks, but let's give it a shot. So let's start introducing people. First off, we're going to have Infidel Pharaoh
joining us. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, there he is. Infidel Pharaoh is a contributor over here at Boiler Room and Alternate Current Radio. Infidel Pharaoh, welcome back to the Boiler Room. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Doing good, man. I got taken out for a week with a cold or something, and then almost got taken out for a week with a gear issue, but we got it sorted, and we're happy to be here and glad you could join us.
Good. Thank you for having me.
All right. Hang back, man, and we'll get started quite shortly here. Up next, we're going to introduce Randy J. Randy J, a Boiler Room regular. Randy J, welcome back to the Boiler Room. How are you? How is it out there in California?
Crazy as usual, and I was wearing shorts today. Quite warm.
All right. Good deal. Hey, let's see here. Actually, I got something I got to play for you before we move on here. We had a Boiler Room submission here. Check this out. This was submitted especially for Randy J. Give this a listen, you guys.
Someone prove me that it was real, and I will eat my goddamn Vans.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I'll put them in the oven. Eat motherfucking Vans. Swear jar.
Eat my goddamn Vans.
Eat my goddamn Vans.
Randy J, West Coast, Boiler Room, motherfucking Vans.
That's awesome. Do we remember what I made that threat to myself over?
I have no idea what you were going to eat your Vans over, man. We're going to have to figure that out so we can hold you to it if it comes to fruition.
Oh, man. Yeah, I know the mystery artist right there. That's thanks to said mystery artist.
Yeah, that's a Funk Soul production right there. He's the same one that brought us Andy Nowicki Meets the Stormtroopers of Death.
Why? You are unlawful. This is what a police state looks like. Don't push me. 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 This is what a police state looks like. You are unlawful. Take your hands off me! Take your hands off me! Take your hands off me! Take your hands off me!
Yeah, alright, there we go. Okay, thank you, Funk Soul, for your awesome submissions. Alright, moving on swiftly here, we're gonna introduce... Let me find the right song. We're gonna introduce Jay Dyer up next. Here we go, Jay. Here he comes. This is Jay Dyer of jaysanalysis.com, the author of the fantastic Esoteric Hollywood, and one of the hosts of Hollywood Decoded on Gaia Network. Welcome back to the Boiler Room. Jay, how are you?
Cold, man. I think that your buddies Celtic Frost did a magic demon ritual, and they sent a giant Celtic Frost my way and literally trapped me in my house for 8 days straight.
I was literally chewing my arm. I didn't have groceries. I was eating my toenails, and I guess Celtic Frost decided that I was too Jewy. Jews' analysis is too Jewy, and they sent their pagan demons at me and froze me in my ice palace, which I felt like Peter. If you've read Narnia, isn't it Peter that's trapped by Jadis in Narnia and Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
That's right. That is right,
yeah,
man.
I was trapped by Jadis working with Celtic Frost. Trapped me.
Oh, man. Celtic Frost. Come on, you guys. Release Jay Dyer from the frozen winter demons already.
I did. I figured out the magic alchemical response to them, which is 8 gallons of hot, boiling salt water, which I poured around my tires, and it finally worked.
All right. Excellent. Well, I'm glad you've been unleashed from your ice cave.
Yes, me too. I was hungry.
Yeah, I bet. Now you're ready to go back and get some of those cool, like, Superman crystals and put them back in the ice machine that you live in and acquire more knowledge.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, hey, welcome back to the show, man. It's great to have you, and we've got one more introduction to do, and that would be the lovely yet freaky
Spore. Welcome back to the Boiler Room, Spore. How you doing?
I'm excellent. I was so pumped to to be back yesterday, and that was just such a letdown. So I'm even more pumped to be back tonight. I'm so glad that we have so many people joining us on this lovely Friday night.
Excellent. Yes, I appreciate everybody flexing on their Friday nights to hang out and do some Boiler Room with us because we think we're freaky. Yeah.
I think that this is a crucial time for Boiler Room because we are hitting that plateau of 10 to 15,000 listens per show, and we got to keep going. We can't stop now because I think that in the next year, 2018, we're going to explode into that next level of platform.
Absolutely.
Or of listenership is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Jay. We gotta keep a full court press going here. I know there's a lot of new listeners, and we got to get everybody caught up. So let's keep it going. And you know what? If I have to use duct tape or whatever, if I have to broadcast on a damn cell phone, I will. But hopefully we'll get this.
People on my channel, if you're listening, go to the ACR page. I'll have it linked below. If you're listening at the Jay's Analysis YouTube channel, please do help support us. We want to keep this going and take it to the next level.
Absolutely. That's right. And we got some exciting stuff planned this year, man. We're going to have some physical meetups. We're going to hopefully start some video broadcasts if we get enough listener support. So we got to keep it going, everybody. 2018, come on. I took it easy on you guys during the holidays because I know they suck, but we're going to have that listener support to take this to the next level. So thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay's Analysis listeners. Also, the alt-right novelist crowd, you guys out there. Andy couldn't join us tonight, but we know he'll be with us in spirit and with us again next week. So, all right, here we go. Lovely Spore. Let's do an icebreaker. What do we got tonight?
All right, this one is from Randy J. Thank you, Randy. A gender-fluid person identifies as both male and female. This person has two mums. One is her birth mum, and the other mum was formerly her birth father. And we do have a clip that we're going to play, and I think this pretty much explains it all here.
Okay, I haven't heard this yet. I'm anxious to hear what this sounds like.
So, today you're identifying as...
Yeah, I am female today.
You're Tabitha today?
Yes.
When did you decide today?
Oh, there is no decision about it, sadly. Basically, you just get what you're given when you wake up in the morning.
So what time did you wake up today?
About 5:45 to make sure I was ready for this.
And you wake up and you get sort of fully conscious, and then what happens to you?
It takes a few minutes to wake up, and then you're just figuring it out.
And what do you feel as you're figuring it out? I'm genuinely curious.
There's a small amount of confusion as you figure out your internal maze of gender, but it's pretty easy in the end.
How many days a week are you Tabitha, and how many take on average?
Sadly, there's no percentage at all. I mean, you just get what you're given on the day. There's no half and half about it or anything like that.
Well, when you say you, I mean, this is unusual, right? I don't know many people. In fact, you're the first one I've ever met who just decides in the morning if they're going to be male or female.
Again, there's no decision, and I do know a couple of friends of mine who are also gender fluid.
What were you born?
Oh, I was born a female.
So you accept that?
I accept it. I'm not particularly happy about it, but I couldn't have an operation because I wouldn't be able to be female again. And that's kind of the whole, thing behind being behind being gender fluid. So I only said trans because I've got a lot of trans friends as well.
Yeah.
You're not trans?
No, there's a huge difference between being gender fluid and being trans.
And that is because you value both your gender identities equally?
Yes, both myself as male and female are valued equally.
So what loos do you use, depending on...
Oh, well, when I'm male, I use the male toilets, and when I'm female, I use the female toilets.
And you think that's right?
There shouldn't be a problem with it. It's not like I'm going in there to peek at anyone's genitals. I'm just going in there to take a pee.
No, but there might be people who have daughters, right, who are, say, like 14-year-old daughter, for example, who's using a female loo. Yeah. And if you decide that day that you just fancy being Tate the bloke, and you go in and you're with this girl, and that might be uncomfortable for her.
I mean, most people don't even recognise that I'm not exactly a biological man when I am male.
You're right.
And also, I just scurry into the cubicles. I'm never at the urinals, to be honest with you.
No, it's not about scaring.
Occasionally I am.
It's not really about scaring. It's more about...
Occasionally I use the urinals, but You know, not often, because there's the old people staring at you, making sure that you're not looking at their penis, and you're just like, no, I'm just such a cute.
But how do you do that physically?
There's a prosthetic penis that you can pee through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Righto.
Jolly good.
Oh, I got to give it up to Piers. That was a pretty good response. Right.
I think when we first heard about this, Hesher made just the perfect comment. This used to be called schizophrenia or multiple personalities. You know, it wasn't gender fluid. It's like this person has a personality, Tate, where she thinks she's a male.
Oh, she has different names for her?
Yes, and
oh, wow. Yeah.
Tabitha when she's a female. That's like multiple personalities. It's a psychological disorder.
Yeah. What happened in the good old days when that was a mental illness?
Good old days.
Right? Schizophrenia, right? I mean, wasn't it?
That's how I recall it.
Yeah, like Sybil.
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah, remember that movie Sybil?
Yeah, that girl. That person had like 16. There was plenty of males and females in that person's head.
Wow.
Yeah. It's disturbing on a couple of levels.
Multiple levels.
Right.
Yeah, because later on in that interview, I wrote it down. The psychologist, this Dr. Kenneth Dembski, American psychologist, and these people are from the United Kingdom, specifically Britain, I believe. He says, and I'm quoting him word for word here, the idea is that gender is an internal experience which only the person inside knows. The idea is, I mean, he starts off with the idea is, okay, so like in a person's, I mean, that's just making it, that's just like clashing the subjective experience of people with sort of everybody else's share. I mean, reality is shared. I'm talking to all of you and you all are hearing me. I'm not talking to an elephant and a rock that has intelligence and speaks. You know what I mean? There's certain commonality that is just there. Subjectivity only goes so far. After a while, yellow's yellow. It's not what I want it to be. Unless the person's nuts, then green is yellow. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's very confusing to me that all of this is nothing against someone that's marginalized and people shouldn't be marginalized and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get that. But I always find that this sort of thing is like changing the machinery of everything. Yeah, you personally can use both restrooms. You own, and only you could do this, that, and the other. The flip side of that is everybody could just do whatever and nothing matters. I mean, there's some sort of middle, I would say.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, Randy. And there was I can't remember who it was. Tucker Carlson was interviewing this woman a week or two ago about this, you know, how people identify themselves. And he brought up this really great point to this woman. He said, so I'm a man, but say I decide that I identify as a woman. Now, can I get scholarships for, women's college scholarships, or can I identify as a black person and get, African American scholarship? And the woman was like, yeah, and, if that's how you feel, then yeah, you should get it. Well, isn't that totally anti the whole purpose of that sort of affirmative action thing, it's so hypocritical and bizarre.
And it's a little naive. It's just naive to see, right, that everything just operates on, oh, well, I want to, so I will. I'm all for positive thinking and empowerment, but that's just off the charts, batshit crazy.
I want to know where's the mental health doctors out there that are railing against this? Because you've got, it's odd. There's an American mental health doctor there with, doing Good Morning Britain with this girl. Makes me kind of wonder, what's the deal? Is he her doctor from overseas? Does he live there and just happen to be an American, or is this more
it's
of
the second.
Right.
Yeah, he lives there and he's American.
Okay, all right. So, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like we keep seeing more and more cases of the medical professionals, mental health medical professionals, pushing this kind of stuff. Trying to change reality to fit people's psychoses, or I don't know, maybe there's a chicken and egg thing going on there, but it just makes me wonder, like, where are the professional mental health doctors who might want to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, this is actually hurting that person. You telling this person that this fantasy is their reality, you might actually be doing mental damage to that person.
Just take it to its end. You know what I mean? Like, if you ran the course where everybody could just sort of be what they want and take structures and organizations that already exist, and to hell with that, make room for me, make room for number one. I am a I could just see this being a soundbite in the future. I'm a purple giraffe with deer antlers, and I want to play in the NBA, and it could just get retarded. And if you took this to the end and you just had a bunch of people doing what they want and having entire support structures and systems catering and clearing the way for that person's desires and anything that they want, right? Scholarships, jobs, this, that, and the other, just whatever. If you're that, we're gonna, you're a fringe person, so we're going to make you. If everybody ran that to its course, we'd basically be an insane. Yeah, we'd be an insane asylum hurling through space, circling the sun. It used to be Earth. That was just where the aliens drop off all the nuts in the galaxy, to live there.
I guess that's what I was gently pointing at, Infidel Pharaoh, was this looks like a situation of the mentally ill, the crazies running the insane asylum when the doctors are running around encouraging this kind of thought.
How are you supposed to be a functional member of society? How are you supposed to hold a job? How are you supposed to have a family? How are you supposed to be a functioning human being if you cannot decide on the most basic thing that defines you, which is your freaking gender? It's just it's insane.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a decision. I mean, you are what you are. It's.
I know, but she just can't even make up her mind. Like, one day she's a male and the other day she's a female.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what else this person is not able to do as they wake up. Can we trust this person on the road? Should they be driving a car? Should they be around children? You know what I mean? Should they have a normal job handling people's food? If they're carrying around a detachable penis, someone needs to insert some flaming lips right here. But, I mean, seriously, you've got a person that walks around with a detachable penis and goes into bathrooms to pretend to be a male in public. And that's not, you know what I mean? Like, that is an egotistical move. That isn't, just someone going about their day. That's someone trying to prove a point and to shock people and push an agenda, in my opinion.
Well, you have to think about... I can't help but think or wonder, when did this person start doing this? Was it after her father decided that he was a woman? And did he have his penis detached? How can you imagine growing up and then having your father one day be your father and then the next day be your second mom? I mean, that has got to be very confusing for a child. So I mean,
that's not really a child, though. I mean, how old is that girl? She looks.
No, this might be something that
right.
this could be a trauma-based issue that's in Herm's head.
Yeah. Okay. We don't know how long the father has been of that lifestyle. So you're right. There could be some long-term. Maybe we're looking at long-term effects of a parental unit that's gone full retard with this and pushed it on a child.
Do you guys think this is MK Ultra like phase 2?
I'll hand that one over to Jay. Jay, what do you think?
Uh-oh.
Oh, did we lose Jay? Maybe I need to re-add him. He was getting on to...
Could he be in between?
Switching.
Yeah, he was switching onto a Wi-Fi network there, so I'm going to go ahead and hit add call just in case. And yeah, but I would say that would be an affirmative there, Infidel Pharaoh, good question. And who isn't traumatized by all this stuff that's being pushed in our face in mainstream media? I mean, if you look at enough of mainstream media, whether it's entertainment media or info media, you're getting barraged with this kind of talk.
And think about people that are, because of whatever reasons, a little confused about what they want. Like this person said, they don't even know one day to the next what they want to identify as they wake up. So I'm sure they're not the only person like that, especially in today's society where it's sort of pushed on you that you can just be whatever and it's okay to switch back forth and all that. And again, I don't want to sound like a person can't. I'm just trying to make the point that that's like encouraged and everything. And so you got other people watching it, and I think that they would be seeing this individual and going, wow, I could be famous for being, I could be somebody for being different. That has got to register on some level in a lot of people's heads.
Yeah, well, that's why we're in big trouble. That's why the youth are in the most trouble, because when I was a kid, if you wanted to be different, you were like a goth or you got a tattoo or something. But now it's not like that. Now kids are told, some of them from the time they come out of the womb, that they need to choose whether they're a boy or a girl, and that life is this whole choose your own adventure thing, where simple facts of reality are just subject to your imagination and your wants and desires. But does that apply to everyone? I don't feel like they apply that evenly. There seems to be a lot of conflicting judgment, especially when it comes to white males. In a lot of those people, is a white male allowed to choose to be anything he wants? I don't know. We've seen a white female get away with pretending to be a black girl. But I think there was a bit of a backlash for that, wasn't there?
Well, there was that white male that thinks he's a Filipino woman.
That guy that thinks he's a Filipino woman.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Infidel was saying, who's hiring these people? What are they going to do in society? What kind of job are they going to go get where they're not totally alienated? I mean, I know in some progressive utopian mind, this is like a good thing, and that they should be allowed everything in the workplace normal, but really what you see a lot of these people that hold these viewpoints do in public is rant and rave and request special treatment because of the way they identify.
Well, Creative Accents has a good point. Isn't Chelsea Manning and Caitlyn Jenner running for Senate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There you go. There's the jobs.
Yeah, there you go. There's some big jobs for you. But you got to be one of those like totally mocked up people by a A&R agency. You know what I mean? I mean, those individuals are not creations of themselves, I would wager. I think that they've both been bought, paid for, and packaged, signed, sealed, and delivered to the media.
Or repackaged, but yeah.
Yeah.
So what? So if a black person feeling discrimination, can they just identify as a white male and then we'll be done with all this like inequality crap? Why can't we just all identify as a white male then?
Yeah, really.
That's Infidel. You just solved the race problem in the world right there. Everybody's a white male. Done. Let's move on.
Can't we all just get along? Sure. Problem fixed.
Better yet, there's 365 days. Everybody just changes to the same thing on a different day of the year.
What's up?
All right,
how y'all doing? How y'all doing? This is This is Tyrone Dyer. How y'all doing?
All right, Tyrone, Jay's black brother. How's it going, man?
No, man, this is. I just changed my gender. I decided I changed my race. I decided I'm racially fluid today, like Rachel Dolezal, and just right now I decided I'm black. But then maybe in 5 minutes I might decide that I'm going to be a nerdy white dude again.
Hey, well, there's no problem with that.
It's up to you.
There's no mental illness to be
Hi,
displayed
guys.
there.
Oh, I'm a nerdy white guy again.
Oh, the change has just happened in front of our eyes, folks. There it is. You see how natural.
So I was thinking about. I didn't hear what you guys were saying in the last few minutes, but I did want to comment on that clip, which I think is amazing. I mean, it's kind of like, wow, that we're getting to this point, because actually I think we talked about and predicted that on our Boiler Room. We said that eventually they'll just change it to whatever they want that day. And why that day? Like maybe every minute or 10 minutes you could be something else. I mean, it's getting that crazy. All the while we've been told that we live in a world where it's all based on science. And science and biology tell us that gender is determined through chromosomes at birth. Mm-hmm. So which is it? I mean, do we live in a world where it's magical realism that our mind just makes reality what it is? Or do we live in an objective world based on objective principles? Because it can't be both of those things. So I think that this kind of person exemplifies exactly what Spore was talking about, what you were talking about, Hesher, with referring to multiple personality, because even though I don't know if this actual person has multiple personality, the books that I've read on that by Dr. Colin Ross, who deals with that, he's kind of one of the leading people on it. He says many of the people with gender issues and gender dysphoria, he thinks that they have this problem, that he deals with in his psychology, because it eventually leads to the most radical version of it being that they think they're two different people at once. Now, they're not ultimately truly, but that their mind is so fractured by doublethink. And that's the thing, is that people don't realize that doublethink isn't just like a psychological warfare tactic. Doublethink can actually damage you, because if you literally buy into it that hardcore or are traumatized by it in some way like that, like people can be traumatized in many ways. I think a lot of these kids that are being like these crazy parents that are dressing their little girls up as boys and their little boys up as girls, they're actually damaging their children, and their children are going to exemplify these kinds of fractured psyche problems. It's what happens in sexual trauma cases. So what I'm saying is just that I think we're starting to see that it's not just biological, and it's not just an inner make the world what you want it to be thing. There's an inner component to human beings. Right? They have a psyche and a mind, a spirit. There's also an outer common realm that Randy J was talking about that's objective, that we can't just mentally make it into something that we want it to be. You know what I mean? It's not, we don't live in The Sims. This is not a simulation where you can just think something into being, like the what's that stupid thing that Oprah was promoting, where you think something and it brings
The Secret.
The Secret. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I'm not saying that you can't in a way attract people through, what you put out, your ideas that you put out, but it's not like that where you think a thing and, like.
Therefore it is.
And I think all this cosplay and all this kind of crap is really designed to do that, because you had the Frankfurt School figures like Adorno saying that they would promote schizophrenia and this kind of stuff. And it's a tool to wreck the society. And you say, well, that's crazy. They would never think that. No, when you read big people who study civilization studies, you can go back and read about the Greeks. I recommended in my recommended reading list a famous book called On the One and the Many. And in that book, the author goes into ancient Greek rites. And some of those rites involved confusion of gender, right? Pedophilia, pederasty, and like once a year, you would the women would dress up like men and go into these sort of crazy Dionysian rites. Now, that I don't think that's a good idea. But what I'm saying is that smart people know how civilizations how they fall. Like they study, the subject, the topic of corrupting and collapsing civilizations in history, and they know the different push points, the nodes, the techniques, and the strategies of how to not just build, but also wreck things. I mean, people study this for a living. They get PhDs in geopolitics and civilization studies, and they read Spangler, and they read Yaki, and they read Kissinger, and they read Brzezinski, and they read all of these Toynbee, all these famous, geopolitical people. And you learn that, when you destroy people's genders and people's families and people's tradition, and this has happened in societies in the past, they will collapse.
Right. Yeah, that fits right in. While you were switching networks there, Infidel Pharaoh asked, is this, is this some sort of, is there a deeper mind control going on here? And absolutely, Jay. I mean, what you just said is spot on, and it does exactly that. It's a form of psychic warfare that will splinter people big time, especially. And
it's like let me give you one example real quick. Think about Kiev. Okay, when the West went into Kiev, what did they introduce? Giant gay parades, trannies, and all the crap that we're seeing. Now, I'm not saying that meant that Kiev was somehow perfect prior to that, or that everything in Russia is perfect. But what I'm saying is that when the U.S. expands into places, they know the psychological techniques and things that can be introduced to alter the culture. And sexuality and human relations is one aspect of how you alter a culture. It's not just TV and movies. It's all of these things.
Right. And
that's been studied. It's known. I mean, if you watch Men Who Stare at Goats, when they finally find the guy who's running the operation, I think it's is it Kevin Pollak or Kevin Spacey or somebody, at the end of the movie, what are they studying? They're studying how to introduce movies and porn in Iraq to destroy and wreck the previous culture.
Amazing. Jeez, absolutely amazing. And this is for people that didn't have this kind of, because it's just getting turned up and up and up, and we've been watching the people fall victim to it and get more and more loopy, displaying more and more mental psychosis, like this person is doing here. The Spore is brought. And it's if somebody, I remember us talking about that, Jay. It was a long time ago. I think you were the one that said it, too. It was just what's to stop them from just flip-flopping whenever they want throughout the day? And, this is the kind of thing that will really damage people. I mean, if you come across someone who has, say, had their finger cut off in a table saw accident, you're not going to be able to imagine that away. That situation is there, and it's real in front of you. You can't turn into a frickin' fairy and fly off. You need to apply pressure.
Right, you can't just tap your shoes together like Dorothy and... Yeah, end
up at BronyCon, with all your buddies.
Right.
Have you guys seen that spoof, that woman who identifies as house furniture?
No.
It's this woman walking around. She's I feel like an end table right now, and she's crouches over, and it's it's funny and silly and stuff. But the fact is that this is where we're at, where you can just identify as anything to the point. This is straight up delusion. It's those. I identify as a pony or a horse or whatever, a fairy. Where's the line? Where do we draw the line here?
Right. I don't know, you guys. All right. Any final thoughts on that one before we move on? Anybody?
Yeah, one last one. Let me read the brief quote from. I cited it in Esoteric Hollywood in the first or second chapter, the Oswald chapter. And now, ironically, it's even worse because we're not in a situation where there's fertility cults. We're in a situation of sterility cults.
Yeah.
But this quote still applies, and this is from the One and the Many. The author says, in the ancient fertility cults, which were ultimately genetic faiths, they were enthroned. They enthroned the lowest as the primary. The ritual return to chaos was held to be the means of a form of social regeneration. The fixed, lawful, rational were viewed as later and higher developments, and hence less basic, and also seen as essentially sterile. The closeness to the primitive was closeness to creative vitality, and this was seen to be chaos itself, a principle of regeneration. In the Saturnalian rites, the primitive festivals and orgies and rituals involving confusion in the forms of incest, bestiality, and perversion were necessary rites in this view to the means of social regeneration. In fact, the festival is presented as a reenactment of the first days of the universe, the Urzeit, the eminently creative era. The rebirth of nature and the rebirth of society are both require a return to chaos and destruction. The festival is thus celebrated in the context of the myth and assumes the function of the regeneration of the world. So I'm not saying that that's correct, but I'm saying that what we have here, I think, is a even crazier version than the pagan view, where the classic sort of traditional pagan view there that he's talking about viewed the Big Bang, primal chaos as more ancient and more creative than a later imposition of order and hierarchy and what he calls sterility. But we're even in a crazier position where now we're getting total gender confusion and total sterility.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is like something Caligula's barge would blush at. I mean, what we're dealing with here.
Well, you know what? I started thinking, too, that a lot of this cosplay and furry stuff that's getting very popular, I think that is a prelude to the introduction of bestiality.
Yeah. Yeah, look at some of those cosplays, man. I mean, there's so many Instagrams that are cosplay-centric, and you don't even need to go to a cosplay one. You just need to go to a female.
I see it in public.
Yeah.
I see it in public.
They're wearing, like, ears.
Yes. I've seen it a couple times within the last month or so. Two different gals walking around with, like, almost like I don't even know what it is, like a rainbow, like a light purple bear. You remember the Madonna hat that they were wearing about a year ago at the march with the ears,
the vagina hat.
Okay, yeah. Well, like a beanie, but more rounded, looking like almost like a little bit of a mascot sort of helmet beanie with freaking like cub ears on it. That was this like loud pinkish purple, and I seen another one that had the same thing with white, but it was more horse looking in a mane. And it wasn't Halloween. It wasn't like at some sort of shindig or at a cosplay event or Comic-Con. It was just like one was in a store and the other one I saw walking like by a bus stop like that.
That's why I was bitching about Julian Assange retweeting Peter Singer, because Peter Singer openly advocates killing infants up to age 3 and bestiality. And he's supposedly a great moral philosopher, a great ethicist. And Julian Assange was retweeting this guy, calling him a great ethicist. And I'm like, you mean the dude that promotes screwing animals? Give me a break.
Wow. Oh, yeah, there's an ethical conundrum. It shouldn't be, but wow, okay.
I remember, I don't know, it was like a long time ago, but I did an icebreaker about Canada has like they had changed their laws where there were certain types of bestiality that are allowed now. Like,
and in Germany, right.
Yeah.
It was like, as long as there's no penetration, but you can do anything else you want with your dog. It was like, it's something really creepy. I'm going to have to look it up.
Yeah. And you'll see it in sitcoms now. Like, I've seen that bestiality topic be supposed to be funny in certain television programs. I can't name one offhand, but I know we've seen more than one now where there are just these disgusting... I mean, you know what I mean? I don't want to see that stuff in my entertainment, and people are actually doing the peanut butter and dog bit and stuff like that. Like, it's
right.
funny.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just, it shocks me. I can't believe that, I, of all people, get shocked by things I see in the media now. But, I mean, more and more, I guess I'm just getting old. No, the volume is getting cranked up. The intensity is getting cranked up on all this degeneracy. And you're right, Jay. We are going into a phase here where it's going to normalize all this animal crap. You can't hardly look at a young woman a young woman's Instagram account if she's a selfie addict anymore without seeing dog ear
on.
filters and foxtails and all this Jessica Rabbit cartoon
it's
stuff.
very weird, man. I don't know. People are losing their minds. That's the only way to say it. They're just losing their minds. And girls in America, this has always grossed me out. They treat their dogs like humans, and I've never understood this. And I think it's because they don't have kids. I'm not trying to be super pious here. I don't have kids. I recognize that, but part of the reason might be because the girls are all treating dogs like humans.
Yeah, well, dude, sorry, Spore, hold that thought 1 second. I see this new trend in social media of grown-ups going and paying money to go essentially to like these vegan petting zoos. So, some
I've seen that, yeah.
It's really strange to me, I mean, I like a cute animal as much as the next person, but I have a hard time imagining like paying to go to essentially a place where you sit in a field with a cow and take pictures for your Instagram and hashtag it, vegan love or whatever.
Did we do goat yoga on
We
Boiler
did.
Room? Or?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old goat yoga, yeah.
We did talk about this one before. There's that woman in Britain who married her dog.
Oh, yeah.
And said, I'm totally her bitch.
Oh, well, there's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Wait, so she's a lesbian, actually?
Yeah,
Interspecies lesbian relationship. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's the next level.
Yeah, well, it's totally normal according to the mental health community apparently these days. So
They had a romantic ceremony.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've heard stuff for a while too that, along with the bestiality angle, that's slowly getting like, I don't know, like ramped up or whatever over time, is that what's the younger people, older people thing? Pedophilia is going to be.
Yeah, that's next.
Yeah,
that's next.
Right. I mean, they've got the dolls for it. They're trying to sell them as some sort of therapy thing.
Oh yeah,
and that's highly contested. Amongst.
Wasn't it the Styx dude that said not only that he saw a snuff film? Everybody remembers that. You remember that?
Oh yeah, that does sound familiar.
The guy from, I think Jones covered it, and maybe some other websites covered it, but it was kind of like a vigilant citizen type thing that the guy from Styx, drummer or something, it went viral for a while, and it was him saying, yeah, I've been to the parties and I have seen a snuff film, and I think he talked about one of them being, bestiality. Oh, he's like, oh yeah, that goes on. I've been to the bestiality parties too.
Oh my god.
Jeez. Nasty. Absolutely.
You don't remember that clip?
No, I don't know if I remember that one. Yeah.
Doesn't show it. It's just an interview. I think it was, and then ended up on TMZ or something.
All right, yeah, grab it, and I'll put it on tonight's show page for everybody. The show page isn't up yet. You're listening to Boiler Room 143. It'll be up after the show. You're joined by myself, Hesher, the lovely Spore, Jay Dyer, Infidel Pharaoh, and Randy J on this live broadcast, January the 19th, here on Alternate Current Radio. All right, let's see here. What do you guys want to talk about next? I've got... I'll throw some ideas out, and you guys can pick one. I've got New California, Moby, a See You Next Tuesday, shadow banning shitty people. I got Seinfeld, Nothing Funny, disgusting pictures of Jerry Seinfeld at anti-terror fantasy camp. And I also have the school shooter game simulator. What sounds good?
New California.
Which one?
New California.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see here.
I actually got excited about that.
What was that, Jay?
I found it, and it's the guy from Scorpions, not Styx.
Oh, okay.
So there's the clip, and I guess that's Mark Dice covering it, but that's just the one that pops up first. But I think there's a link somewhere.
Excellent. How long is it? Should we play it before we move on, or should I just put it on the notes?
3 minutes of Mark Dice It's up to you.
All right, I'll leave that
3 minutes of Mark Dice doing his alliteration.
Yeah, since I haven't heard it yet, I'll leave that for the listeners to decide on. But it looks like a good one.
Bombastic Babylonian bimbos, bitches.
Yeah, you do a good Mark Dice. All right, someone hashtag Mark Dice on tonight's episode.
Tired of boring, stupid podcasts? I know I am. If you want something different, check out Jay's analysis and Esoteric Hollywood only on the Alternate Current Radio Network. The biggest breakdowns of the biggest films, geopolitics, esoterica, and theology.
This is a snakeskin jacket. And for me, it's a symbol of my individuality and my belief in personal freedom. I don't want to be me. I don't want to be anymore.
Okay, this is coming out of North Coast Journal of Politics, People, and Art. Here we go. New California, a more perfect union? Here we go. Another move is underway to divide the Golden State, this time with a movement called New California, issuing a Declaration of Independence this week, garnering news coverage across the country. A map of the movement's website, which has a theme, a more perfect union, shows the proposed new state as including most of California's counties, excluding those along the coast from Sonoma County south to Los Angeles, or basically all the places with big money. It also appears like New California's lines were drawn so as to create a staunchly conservative state, which would give Republicans a couple more senators and increased representation in the House. You can just take a look at this recent Public Policy Institute of California map, which has some striking similarities to the New California proposal there, and it just kind of shows the demographics of politics of everybody in the state, and lo and behold, it does match up pretty well. So I'll put that on tonight's show page. What do you think, Infidel Pharaoh? Is there a chance that we could have New California? It says here that, let's see, to make it on the November 2018 ballot, let's see, they're on their second bid to cut up the state. If you recall, they did try to do this in like 6 parts back in 2014. I think we covered that at the time. But they need to get 880,000 registered voters to sign on the dotted line no later than April 23rd. What do you think?
I hope it happens, man. California is turning into a shithole.
Starting to sound like CNN. But yeah, you're right. When there are cities where you have to download an app to help you not step in human feces as you traverse the city, yeah, it might be a shithole.
But I mean, think about it. So you have a whole state, and this is their argument, is basically held hostage by these few cities, those few mega cities, just basically forcing the majority of the state, I'm talking like geographical, to basically follow whatever agendas they are putting, you know? And I think it is draining people, and it's, especially with this like new tax cuts and like basically like removing some of the deduction from the state taxes. I think that's gonna create more strain into these high tax states. But I think in general, really, it's a trend that you see, like you have this mega cities, and they just basically think they can control the whole damn country, and you know, and you have the whole push like from the Democrats to like abolish the electoral college and go for popular votes, and so it's. I think I hope it gain momentum, and I hope they can actually secede from California.
It seems like it would sure be a lot more representative of the way the political demographic is in that state. I can say that much for sure, just by looking at it, because I've lived in a number of these counties, both on that redder and more maroon side and on that blue and teal side there as well. Randy J, what do you think, man? Is there a hope in HE double hockey sticks for this group and this switch up in California? This would be huge.
Maybe. I think it's a long shot because it just seems really drastic. We've been holding steady at 50 since Alaska and Hawaii, I believe. I don't know which one was first, or the 49, and which one was 50. But I think it's a long shot. But I do think it's possible, and the reason why I say it is, as the calendar pages turn, and as we talked for the first portion of the show, people are nuts. So people will do it straight off of an emotional reaction. Yeah, screw them, I don't want them. Let's vote ourselves. You'll have both sides thinking it's the greatest idea that ever happened. Yeah, screw those jackoffs on the one side, and the other one say, yeah, screw them. Yeah, we won out, and the other ones will be like, yeah, go. And there'd probably be a lot for it potentially on both sides, and each side would be very eager to see. We knew that side was going to fail. We knew that side was overtaxed and over this and over that, and the other side would say, yeah, well, we got all the city and all the income, and we got the port of Los Angeles, and we got the Presidio. I just think it's easier said than done, especially now. It would almost create a weird sort of, and this is already happening actually, like an interstate sort of demographic changing based on people leaving predominantly blue areas, like literally like seeking refuge. Like that place is lost, so I'm moving to wherever, and they go to a red state, like California, Illinois, and New York. I think if you added them all up together within the last 5 or 6 years, have had a migration out of like 1.5 million or 1.7 million. It's different numbers depending on who you look at, leaving those states for Texas, for Kansas, Oklahoma, or whatever, and it's happening. It's like a real thing.
Oh yeah.
So they're sort of doing it on their own in a weird way, even without gerrymandering California or somewhere else to make their own voting, utopia for whatever side of the fence whatever team a person's cheerleading for.
Yeah. All right, Spore, what do you think? Any chance of this one happening? That last one was like 6 pieces. It was pretty ambitious. This is like let's just kind of separate the bluish part from the reddish part. How about that?
I highly doubt it will happen. I don't know. When I look at it, I see the entire coastline, which is where all the money is, right?
Well, also all the broke-ass bankrupt ones. Like, remember, was that Stockton went totally bankrupt? Like, there's cities on that yellow section there that, are actually a huge drain on the economy and the water supply. And, you know what I mean? I suppose... Yep. And they hate the people on the other side because they think they're rednecks in many cases. So
yeah, but think about the size of LA compared to Stockton. I mean, LA, Hollywood, that whole area is, and I mean the whole Bay Area, Silicon Valley. I mean, those two areas are probably the richest parts of the entire state, and I don't see them willing to let go of even Humboldt. Or
Humboldt would be in the old part, or I'm not sure which one's New California. It's the yellow or the blue, but it stops just in the middle of Mendocino.
Right, that's what I mean. I don't think that the people in the Bay Area are willing to let go of all that space. I mean, look, that's a huge amount of California. I think that they want to own that, whether there's people of different points of view in that area or not. I think that they want that as their state. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
They certainly want to dominate it politically. You got that right. I don't know that they leave and go use it much, but they definitely want to impose their will, and they would. The one that I
saw had one of it had, like you said, from L.A. basically L.A. to San Francisco, and then the whole coast, and then it sort of went inland a ways. But the other portion would, like, I don't know, almost like a consolation. Well, you could keep San Diego. You know what I mean? Like, you could have a port city too. You know what I mean? It's just really, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know either. It's going to be interesting to see if they get enough signatures and then what happens, because, that's one thing. It's a good point, Randy. There's people on both sides of that line that might think that they would benefit from that. Go ahead, Spore.
I just as a native Californian, I mean, personally, if I was still living there, I would want to be detached from these super leftist, liberal parts of the state that were super I'm with her, Hillary loving people.
I thought you were going to say shithole.
But on the other hand, I mean, that coastline, that's my home. Like, I wouldn't want to let go of those.
That's some of the most beautiful coastline in the whole world. Some of the best beach breaks are there. I think maybe actually everyone that's on the other side of that line should just kind of push all those people into the ocean. How about that? And then California will be back again.
Don't do that.
I'm just kidding. I don't want to see y'all fall in the ocean. You're right, though. There's some prime real estate there, definitely. And that part of the state, I wager, would get a lot more federal aid and funding than the more reddish part of it. Let's go to Jay Dyer. Jay, what do you think of this California bid here? Is it going to go anywhere?
No, this comes up every year or two, this kind of a thing. I mean, I've seen this pop up in the news for 10, 15 years.
It's almost every midterm election, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know why. There's got to be some reason why this gets floated out there. I'm not exactly sure why, but I think a lot of people don't realize that, as we've talked about before, California is a giant military-industrial complex state. It's not a normally functioning state like we think of the states, and the Congress and the representatives and the state governor and all that. I mean, that stuff is there, but the only way that would ever happen is if the deep state decided that it was somehow beneficial to split up California. There's no way that would ever happen, because the whole thing is a test tube for, altering the culture for Silicon Valley type mind control stuff. And then it filters out into the country 20 years later. I mean, I grew up there. My dad was in the Navy. I was in the weird UN schools. I know how California works. I've seen it firsthand. And the stuff that I saw in California when I was 10 years old, when I moved back to Tennessee when I was 10 years old, you see that California stuff filtering out to Tennessee 20 years later. And that's how it works. So for example, rap music. Rap music when I was in California was new and it was super cool, and everybody listened to hip hop in 1986 and 87. Nobody listened to metal. I'm not dissing you as a metal dude. I'm saying that it was popular because it was new and it was really big in California. Right. When I moved back to Tennessee, age 10, age 11, nobody listened to rap. And it was 20 years later before everyone listened to rap. And it's the same way with New York. I mean, it's kind of like two different, you know what I mean? I mean, there's, California it exists for the Navy, for Hollywood, and for Silicon Valley. That's what it is.
Yeah. It's virtually impossible to separate all those aspects that make that state what it is. I agree.
New York exists as the banks and so-called intellectual elites.
Right.
And Wall Street.
All right, so there you have it. The Boiler Room as a whole is pretty skeptical. We can see the appeal for people out there, but we're going to stick to our remain skeptical stance on New California. All right, let's see here. You guys want to talk about what do you got, Jay? You got anything you want to talk about this week that's big on your radar?
There was a funny thing. Does everybody know who Roosh V is?
Yes, vaguely. Yeah, I'm familiar with Roosh.
I'm not.
So Roosh is pretty well known in the Manosphere. He's been around for a good while. He is the brains behind Return of Kings. And Roosh and I have exchanged some messages and joked around it. And I have done a couple pranks on Roosh that turned out pretty good. He's been doing live streams and a very controversial figure. And I just, for fun, pranked him. And so he renamed his last live stream after the prank. So you can check that out on my Twitter feed. I thought that was a lot of fun. But cool. What else What else is on my radar? Does anybody have any opinions on the manosphere? We don't actually talk about that very much. And of course, I have a girlfriend, and Hesher, you have a girlfriend. So I don't think we're going to step on anybody's toes here. But this is a big part of the alt media sphere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it really is. It is, and I think it's sort of an important aspect of it too, especially for young men who, may not necessarily have grown up with any strong male role models, and may have had maybe twisted or weaponized ideals of sexuality and their role in male-female interactions projected upon them. I think there's some valuable lessons in there. There's definitely some sour grapes in there as well. But hey, you can't really make an omelet without some angry eggs, and a lot of people are really frustrated out there and find a lot of value in the manosphere. It's interesting though. It does trigger people sometimes because there's that aspect of the what do you call that? The pickup artist culture aspect is a part of it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was kind of like one of the birthplace and genesis areas of that whole manosphere was, just people like learning how psychology works and how to use that to their advantage to meet women. Go ahead, Spore. You look like you want to jump in here.
Oh, just people in the chat are asking, what is the manosphere? Not everybody's familiar. So. Okay,
so Jay, give us a brief history of the manosphere. For me personally, I came across it. There was a website called like Chateau Heartsy, I believe, and
Royce.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I first became aware of it. And oddly enough, not like a bodybuilder or anything, but one of my friends and I used to just hang out on this bodybuilder forum because the guys in there were hilarious and they talked about it a lot. So, I mean, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I think around 2002 or 3, it started in a forum, and there were 3 guys known as the 3 R's, Royce, who does Chateau, and then Roosh, who does Return of Kings, and Rolo is the other guy who has a blog called Rational Male, or at least that was his blog. So it started as a thing where it was like a forum of guys talking about, strategies to get better with women and so forth. And then it kind of blossomed into a thing where you had guys like the Mystery Method. If you remember, Mystery had a TV show on VH1 for a while about picking up girls.
Yep.
And then there was Neil Strauss wrote some books, the game, or what was this? Something about the Pickup Bible or the Game or something like that. So there were some books that came out around 2005, 6, 7, somewhere in there, 8. And then it kind of moved into more political stuff, where Royce at Chateau was writing more and more politically minded things, criticizing feminism in terms of the political arena and the cultural arena. So it really, some people say, oh, well, this is just a male version of feminism, and more so, I think it's a reaction to the situations that men have been placed in without their being in control of it. I mean, in other words, we're born into this situation where, it's not our fault. And when, as you pointed out, many of us are raised by single moms. Many of us don't have dads. Many of us are lacking male guidance. And so it comes, we have to learn, basic wisdom and tricks of the trade through other means, because many of us didn't have dads. So I think it filled a role in that perspective, and yes, there are excesses and there are weird characters, and the manosphere kind of spread out into some other weird ideas like the MRAs, who, well, I wouldn't necessarily say that all men's rights activists are necessarily bad, but this is a lot of times disaffected guys who had a bad divorce or something like that, or they were screwed over by their wife in a divorce. And then the MGTOW is what I was trying. Men going their own way.
Oh yes.
The MGTOW crowd kind of went in a different direction of completely eschewing marriage, children, family, and at times even women, period. So a form of celibacy, perhaps. I'm not exactly sure, but many of the MGTOW guys are actually pro-sex bot. So it kind of spawned off into these different kind of movements. And then what happened with Roosh was a very interesting thing where he wrote a satire piece that became like the biggest news story for a while because it was obviously a satirical point about rape. And the feminists and the media jumped on it and said, oh, he's actually literally saying that we should legalize rape, which obviously is preposterous. But it kind of ruined him in certain ways in terms of his income. And so Roosh kind of had to take a different route in terms of not being politically active, because he was actually trying to start up meetups, like guys, just a guys-only meetup in different cities. And Canada ended up being a big trigger for this, and they banned him, and then the UK banned him, kind of like the UK banned Richard Spencer and Michael Savage and different people. Mm-hmm. So it turned into this huge ordeal where the media and all the feminists in the world basically lied and said that this guy was literally trying to rape women and make rape legal, which is so preposterous that alone should tell you, the mental insanity of the people that we're dealing with here. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of what the manosphere is. And, it's just a kind of a reaction, I guess, is the simplest way to put it, to a feminized culture.
Right. What were you going to say, Spore? You were thinking something there, I could tell. I put her on the spot.
I don't know. I think you might have seen my face when I didn't know the MGTOW was into sex bots. That was kind of a shocker to me.
Well, they are going their own way.
Yeah,
and they don't have to pay for dates anymore, so they have some extra money.
Yeah, I appreciate the breakdown. I didn't realize that the MRA and the MGTOW were sort of like, are they sort of like tangents of the manosphere? Like they're sort of just separate genres, or they're like completely different? I guess they're somewhat related.
I don't know.
Well,
probably
men's rights activists include women. There's a woman who's a Dr. Tara Palmatier, and she does a lot of podcasts and shows that are actually pretty popular. They get 50, 60, 100,000 views on YouTube, with a guy named Paul Elam, and that's probably a pseudonym because it's male backwards. But he used to do the website Spearhead.
I remember Paul. We actually just watched the documentary called Red Pill, and he was one of the central figures in that.
Yeah, that was really good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so he is kind of the well-known guy for men's rights. But that's different from the kind of thing that Roosh does. Is his whole thing is better equipping men to get the women that they want. And so that could include marriage or just dating. Roosh, I think he says he's a Stoic, so he's not coming from like a religious perspective, but he's been around for a while, and he's been on all the different podcasts and shows, and a fairly well-known guy. He went on Dr. Oz and got smashed. The whole show and audience just clobbered him and attacked him.
I can imagine that's walking into a lion's den right there. Yep. And
he says that he was kind of, after a while you see how the media treats people, but if you're at that time, he probably wasn't as aware of how deceptive the media is, so he kind of probably took the producers telling him, "Oh, we'll be fair," which they aren't ever fair.
Yeah.
So he kind of walked into a trap there, and that's how he describes it. So, but anyway,
yeah, I'm sure it was. And for anyone out there that's new to this whole concept, like if us even talking about men's rights seems strange or alien to you, that Red Pill documentary is probably a good place to start, just to look at it. It's a documentary film that was filmed by a woman, and she started from a place of just wanting to understand this because it didn't, make sense to her figure, her worldview. It didn't really jive with it. So, she went on this journey. She started interviewing all these guys, and you could tell she walked into the film thinking that it was going to be confrontational, and that she'd be uncovering that, these are unsavory characters. But as she went through it and, talked with these men, she seemed to kind of change her mind, and she didn't want to associate herself with a feminism that was going to be against men rather than for women. And the reaction that some of these groups have when they try to have their meetings is amazing. I mean, you've never seen such triggering. It's a good one. Red Pill. I think it's on Amazon Prime, I believe, is where we caught it.
There was a discussion that Baked Alaska was doing with, I think, with Roosh, and they were noting the fact that what started Adpocalypse, and I didn't know this because Adpocalypse actually affected me too. It was actually one of the men's rights anti-feminist videos that was being used as the ridiculous justification for Adpocalypse. And, really, we've only seen, well, let me see. So Elliot Rodgers, that was, at the time, there was a hit piece that was written in New York Magazine about me, because I wrote about Elliot Rodgers and I wrote about an article about men's rights at the time. And I said that it was the first men's rights false flag, because they were saying that Elliot Rodgers was a men's rights killer. That was what the mainstream media was going with at the time, and I was saying that was preposterous. And in fact, that he was actually on feminist message boards.
Right.
So Elliot Rodgers was not a men's rights activist killer. That was utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that started that meme, or that was one of the key pieces in the meme of toxic masculinity that they started promoting in the mainstream media. And then, as I said, Adpocalypse came as a result of actually an anti-feminist video. Roosh was not harassed or threatened or, raked over the coals until he tried to have actual meetups. And so, he was saying that he realized that that's when you actually become a target of the system, is when you are no longer just an internet personality, but you're actually trying to, organize and actually change things. And I thought that was an interesting point.
Right. Yeah. Isn't Baked Alaska the guy that was it the bike lock or the acid in the eye? I can't remember.
He got the acid in his eye.
Yeah.
No, I can't remember who got the bike lock, but somebody else.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's a very realistic thing. So, I mean, feminist groups can get together and it's no problem. But when a men's
the left can be as violent as they want.
Yeah.
And then, anytime, we pointed this hypocrisy out many times, and that's because we're not dealing with rational, logical people. We're dealing with zombie creatures.
Right. And I recall a situation in that documentary. I forget which of those fellows it was, but there was an article that was written, I think, I'm going on foggy memory, but I think it was called Why It's Okay to Hit Your Girlfriend or something like that. And it was a satire piece that was based on a feminist blog post that was titled the exact opposite, like Why It's Okay to Beat Your Boyfriend or something like that. So it's like, that comes out and it's no big deal. It's strong women just being strong. And then someone does a satire piece, in reverse. And all of a sudden, people are losing their marbles and getting their bike locks and their acid squirt guns out. So, I guess that's when stuff gets real right there, when you go out and have a meeting like that. So, just amazing some of the hypocrisy that's uncovered in that department.
I have not seen Red Pill, but I've heard many people talk about it. Is it pretty good?
It's pretty good, yeah. I've seen some of the hardcore manosphere people criticize it a little bit, but for the most part, I think it's a really good jumping off point for someone that's interested in the topic. I mean, there's interesting interviews and statistics, and the filmmaker is pretty balanced. She talks to the feminist lady that's the editor at Variety magazine or Woman magazine, I can't remember. But she gives everybody their fair shake, and it struck me how unrealistic and idealistic the talking points were that came from that lady editor of Woman magazine and another academic type who was there. They just laughed. They literally laughed at the concept that that a man could be abused in his relationship by his female partner. I mean, it's like something they won't even accept as a possibility when the statistics show that, about 46% of domestic violence are woman on man.
Yeah, and they even give the statistics of how many men's shelters there are compared to women's shelters. It's
there's none.
Yeah,
there's one, I think.
I think there was one men's shelter in all of the United States, and it's hundreds in every state for women.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I'd recommend it.
I've seen many a male basically get the tar beat out of them, and not because they couldn't respond in a literal sense. It's because they're socialized. Don't hit women. Don't like a person that's 6'1" and weighs 210 and is in excellent shape, looks like a UFC fighter or something, doesn't take a 5'5", 125-pound woman and throw her through the wall. It has nothing to do with anything except for the person could, but he doesn't. And I've seen people like that get their faces scratched up, and things smashed over them, and they to their credit, some of these individuals simply didn't react violently. I mean, it's absolutely a real thing.
Well, yeah,
literally.
Yeah, and not even just that. I totally agree with you there, Randy. But also, there's a ton of mental abuse. I mean, there's this thing in this day and age where a lot of women have an "I deserve" sort of attitude, and
the Disney princess,
yes,
right?
Exactly, and a lot of men are just willing to take it. I mean, we've had listeners that aren't allowed to listen to our show because their wife doesn't like it. It's like and they just go away. They just don't listen anymore, and that's that's super minor, but I mean that's just like a little dose of what's out there. And
why would a woman not like Boiler Room?
I don't get
what have we ever said on Boiler Room that's not?
I don't know.
I mean,
we have
it's
fantastic.
not like we're
we're very.
Have we even talked about men? We've never even talked about men's issues.
It's like say a conservative man has a very liberal wife, and they don't, they think that anybody should be able to identify as furniture. And we're sitting here talking, or I've actually seen somebody that got upset when you were talking about the 600-pound man. Like, why are you fat shaming, Jay? It's not. I'm
not going to let my husband listen to this Jay Dyer fellow.
Dude, that reminds me. You should find the Dr. Oz clip. It's not on YouTube. It's on Daily Motion of Roosh on Dr. Oz, because that's what happens is that he thinks that he's going to be interviewed, and he goes on there, and Dr. Oz is like, "Why do you hate women?" And he's like, "What?"
Right out of the gate.
And he goes, he's like, "I think that all women should be any body size that they want to be, and they're beautiful no matter what." So he's just like completely the most sucking up to the audience, pathetic, lame dude ever. It's so transparent if you understand these people, what he's doing. And he's like, look, every society, shames something that is considered not healthy for the society. So in other words, it's not like there's only individuals. Like if a society, no matter how big or how small, if it tolerates something like pedophilia, for example, then what happens is that can actually affect the whole society, right? In other words, so if you have kids and your society, promotes this and allows this and doesn't shame that, then do you want your kids in that society? No, not if you love your kids. I mean, you'd be crazy. You know what I mean? So you're going to move your kids away from that society. So in the same way, something that is like, everybody knows this about people in Japan and Asia. Like they think that these big old fat 600, 800 pound people in America they can't understand it. I mean, they have sumos, but sumos are like intentionally, they train to be sumos since they're young. But, the majority of people in Asian countries are not gigantic, lard asses. So the point is that you have to have some aspect of social shaming, and it's impossible not to. You can't have a completely neutral society that doesn't shame any actions. It's not possible. And even all these crazy leftists, they shame everything they don't like. So they're completely hypocritical.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna say they were shaming Trump the other day for being like fat.
Yeah,
For being fat.
They shame him for his weight, his hand size, his skin tone, his anything, you name it.
He just like subhumanize anyone that just doesn't agree with them, and like if you're in their group, it's okay to play the victim, but if you're in the other group, then they were gonna use it against you. Basically,
It's like Baked Alaska was saying, is that the most edgy thing ever now is straight white Christian male.
Yeah,
there's nothing edgier than that. Whoa,
it's true. That's true.
Who'd have thunk it? 20 years ago, who'd have thunk it? Yeah, absolutely amazing.
With no tattoos.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
With no tattoos, absolutely.
I think this whole just going back to the whole feminist movement, because like looking at this crazy Me Too movement right now, and it's getting more insane and insane by the day. Not sure if you guys saw the Aziz Ansari thing.
No, what happened to Ozzy?
I saw it.
Yeah, so basically a woman came against him.
Was this the hairdresser?
No, it's basically he went on a date with a woman.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but he went on a date with a woman, and I think they got intimate after the date, and during the intimacy, basically she felt that she wasn't into it, and she didn't tell him, but she tried to imply to him I'm just not into it, and he continued. And then next day, she was basically, he sexually assaulted me or something crazy like that.
Wait a minute. Did I hear you right? Did you say Ozzy as in Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, or did I mishear you?
I didn't say Ozzy, no.
Okay, who are we talking about again?
She didn't say Aziz Ansari. Aziz Ansari. He's
okay, the comedian.
He's like a comedian.
Gotcha. He was on Parks and Recreation.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know how to pronounce it either, but it's Aziz Ansari, I believe, just phonetically.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I did see a headline about that, but I didn't hear any of the details. So here we have, again, another crazy allegation, and the gray area could not be more gray. And regardless of what you think about that young guy as a comedian or an actor, this is just going ape shit. I mean, there was a Polish death metal band that was touring the United States, and they got an accusation levied against them, and they spent almost 2 months in jail. And even the arresting officer had said in his original report, I have no reason to believe that all 4 of the men in this band, or any of them, committed any rape. She accused them of raping her on a tour bus. And lo and behold, after these guys have had their tour ruined, their album sales ruined, their reputations ruined, their holidays ruined, spending them in a foreign jail, they're released. And of course, it's because there's no evidence for it. And the accuser has falsely accused people of this in the past. She has a reputation of falsely accusing people. But what does that do for these guys? How does that fix the fact that their album sales have tanked and that their tour got called off and that they had to be away from their families in a prison for months?
Only the insane leftists who are insane like a fox could turn the outing of Hollywood sickos and pervs into a feminist championed hashtag.
Oh my God.
I thought this was actually man, these are, Kevin Spacey's going down. There's some hardcore A-listers that are going down. And then it suddenly becomes nothing but feminism and the most ridiculous crap that is not even real at all.
It watered down the whole issue. Now you have people that truly sexually assaulted, or raped, and then they equated with someone that,
Right. They just think of it like a hashtag.
Consensually, or consensually we're having sexual relation with someone, and she just didn't feel she was into it.
Where I think
in the middle of it.
Where I think that's going, what I think they want to do is have society so regulated and controlled and surveilled that they're going to come up with these phony problems and say, see all the problems we have. I think we're going to go towards a 1984 situation. If you remember, in 1984, you can't have intimate relations.
Yep.
You're not allowed to. And it's it's like in THX, the Robert Duvall character, he gets his jollies from a apparatus that lowers out of the ceiling and basically sucks you off. Right? He's not supposed to have intimate relations with his woman that he lives with, or they just eat pills all day and work on the robots. And what I'm saying is that I think that they're wanting to move it to a situation where they can actually ban procreation. That's where I think they want to go.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, that whole concept that we were exploring earlier of infiltrating culture, ruining families, changing the way human sexuality works and self-identification works. I mean, of course it's going to head there. I mean, we're already seeing that group, it used to just kind of be like this between 60s and 2010 or something, where it was just like, love everybody, let everybody, free love, whatever. There's those people, that's fine, live and let live. And now it's like there's all these different genders with all these different rules. Nobody can play nice among themselves, even among those little splinter cells and subcultures of the love movement or the free love movement or whatever the hell you want to call it these days, gender fluidity, equality. I mean, there's all these different labels. There's no way for them to agree on what the rules are and how to get along. And everything is just, it's in utter chaos, and it's causing, young people to splinter. So, I mean, yeah, I could totally see them going full on 1984 and only having, state-sanctioned test tube babies that have been, completely designed from the ground up with messed up RNA and DNA. You know what I mean? It's Monsanto for human beings.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do. They're going to say that the central bureaucracy and some AI, is the only legal way for you to be paired up, if you're allowed to be paired up, which they probably won't want that. This is shit that we saw in even Black Mirror, like the last social justice warrior season of Black Mirror had the Tinder app that was like, you're not allowed to date anybody but who the app, tells you to date and shit like that.
For years.
So Match.com public option.
Yeah. No, you're right, Jay. I was thinking of that same episode, and for anyone that hasn't seen it, they're messing around on this show Black Mirror, this most recent season, with the concept of taking a copy of a person, a fully sentient digital copy of a person, and putting them in a computer simulation and making them live entire lifetimes as test tube versions of a person. And it is pretty haunting and freaky when you think about it, because the people, there's like 3 episodes where this happens, where there's someone in, a digitized state who, is fully sentient and thinks they have their soul intact and their timeline intact, and they're not. They're a perfect digital copy inside of a sim, and these people running the sim, well, they can do whatever they want. They can make you live 90 years with 100 different partners, to try to match you up with the perfect partner. And these are the kind of sales pitches that, we will start seeing in real life coming up. I mean,
yes.
It's
yeah. I did, by the way, a gigantic analysis of all of Black Mirror. If anybody missed that article, it took me about 4 days to do.
Nice. The recent one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole, every episode. It's all 4 seasons and the special.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. All right. I'll link that.
It took forever.
I'll link that on tonight's show page. I can imagine, man. I mean, we just finished it recently, and I remember telling Spore, like, I would need to sit down with notes, and we could make long analyses on each of these, because there's so much going on. And
exactly. Yeah. So you guys finished it.
We did. Yeah. We're
so. What is your overall analysis? Because I had watched every season as it came, and then I actually went back and watched the old ones again as well. So I've seen them all the way through twice, and I felt like that was necessary to write the analysis. And the analysis came out pretty good, but reviewing them, I feel like they're pretty hit and miss. I think that I would say about 40% of the show is really good, and the rest of it, I think, especially since it's been on Netflix, it's gone downhill.
Yeah, I've noticed.
That last season was a super social justice.
Yeah, it definitely had that flavor to it, because you watch those first 3 seasons, and the good episodes are bleak and dark, and it's like they kind of leave the viewer wondering if we really want to go down this path. And the new season is sort of parading around it almost in certain episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember what all I titled it, but I spent forever writing that analysis. But the first, I uncovered actually quite a few, mainstream articles that deal with the stuff that is proposed in the show. Now, obviously, the show exaggerates things and takes it into the extreme, but you had these weird parallels for people who think that predictive programming is crazy, and I still get people commenting and haters saying that I'm insane and I'm nuts. I mean, how does this show have the UK Prime Minister screwing a pig? Speaking of bestiality, yeah. and then Charlie Brooker, who wrote that, even admits, he's like, "Hey, isn't it pretty crazy that David Cameron put his ding-a-ling in a pig?"
Yeah,
didn't it come out? It was like a year after or something, was it? It was like unreal.
Yeah, it's all in my article. It's 4 years after.
Oh, is it that okay? Well, that's even more.
So the Telegraph explains in 2015 that 4 years after the initial episode aired, the action on the part of David Cameron was part of an aristocratic Oxford University initiation.
You just can't
remember
make this
that.
up.
Yeah, I remember as it happened, and I was the other way around. Like, I saw the dang show, and I'm like, "Hey, yeah. Right." And then I was like, then I saw that something. It could have been something that you said. It's a long time ago now, Jay. But I mean, it could have been something that you said or someone had said, and I was like, "Really?" and then so I'm an example of someone that saw that thing and thought, yeah, that's cute. And then it actually did happen in reality first. That was what are the odds, right? You pick the person in the position and the exact animal out of the animal kingdom.
Yeah, give me a break.
Yeah.
And it's bestiality too, so hey, maybe it's the new never mind.
Well,
I'll tell you.
And they put it on the TV. I mean, it is. You're right, Randy. And not only that, but the episode highlighted the fact that a low-grade information terrorist could make something like that happen, and that they could force the media to broadcast that to all the people.
Mm-hmm. Did you like? I thought out of the first season, White Bear was the best episode. Okay. White Bear is the one where the girl wakes up and she has amnesia, and this whole environment is completely inexplicable to her, and she's basically put through a horror course, and all of these people in masks are chasing her, and there's all these people watching her filming with their iPhones, and she can't figure out what's going on. And at the end of the show, it turns out, spoiler, she has been convicted of a crime, and her punishment is to be on this TV show that broadcasts her in this fake environment. I thought that was one of the best episodes. And what was neat about that one was that you actually don't know if she really did commit this crime. I mean, they just say she did.
Right.
So that's I thought even more dystopic was that, like, the media could basically just create the so-called trial by media, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's right. She was essentially, it was sort of like a Running Man situation, but they would wipe her mind and put her in the situation over and over again every week for the show. Yeah, that one was astounding. And we also, I don't remember what season this one was, but there was the one where the lady was an insurance agent, and she'd go around, and her job was to put this little mind recorder on people so she could pull their memories out. So if there's a car accident, maybe 3 or 4 people saw it.
Yeah,
that was a new season, I think.
And that was the newest season, and the chick is like, she becomes a serial killer to try to cover up her original lie.
That was nuts.
Yeah, it was a little over the top with the whole, like, I'm going to become a serial killer thing, but the technology that they were underlining there and the fact that you were legally obligated to allow these insurance agents to put this mind capture image device on your head, and if they caught you doing anything else, well, then of course they have to report you.
Crocodile, that's the Crocodile's the episode you're talking about.
That's the one, yeah. Yeah, there's some really interesting stuff. We just finished also Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams, and I cannot recommend that. It was so bad.
I was about to start it, and I heard it sucked.
There's I think there's 10, maybe 11 episodes, and maybe
2 are good.
Maybe 2, 3 are kind of worth watching, and a lot of them are just really bad. It's weird because it's got Bryan Cranston as an executive producer from Breaking Bad. I would kind of expect more from him, and there's some big names in it too. Like there's an episode with Steve Buscemi that's just almost unwatchable. It's just like totally nonsense.
What overall do you give Black Mirror?
Black Mirror, I'm going to give a 7.5 out of 10, just based on a few, tedious episodes. But even the tedious episodes, the concept, the technology being explored or the social change being explored is still fascinating. So I rate it pretty high. What do you think, Spore?
No, I would say 8 out of 10. I mean, especially after watching Electric Dreams, which is the same sort of premise. I mean, it's a different story for each episode. But Black Mirror is like much more coherent, and I don't know, just I feel like it's a lot more solid and interesting.
That's what everybody was saying, is that it's a crappy Black Mirror.
Yeah, it really was like a second-rate knockoff. I don't know if they should even have Philip K. Dick's name on it. Actually, it seems a little ridiculous, but definitely if you're going to go for that kind of thing, go with Black Mirror over Electric Dreams. I don't know. Randy and I have kind of been talking about doing a bit of a Hollywood breakdown because Spore and I watched so much Netflix while I was sick. I think we might be able to do humanity a favor and kind of just save you all the trauma of watching pretty much everything new on Netflix and tell you what's going on.
Well, I'll tell you, the only reason I hate Netflix, but I got it just because I wanted to write that piece, and I was tired of the pop-ups on the crappy streaming sites that are free. And I did like Mindhunter. Did you like Mindhunter?
I don't think we've watched that one yet. Actually, we didn't watch that one yet.
Nope.
I was told it was the best show on Netflix, and that's not saying much because most of Netflix is crap.
Yeah.
But it is a really good show, and it progresses very well, and has a great ending.
Cool.
So Mindhunter, definitely a thumbs up.
All right, cool. We'll check that one out.
If you like X-Files and True Detective, you would like
Mindhunter.
Nice. All right.
True Detective is my favorite show of all time.
Yeah, that's definitely.
I'm hoping that there'll be a season 3.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, they really should.
But I'm not a big Netflix person, and I just got it because I wanted to do the analysis of Black Mirror, But yeah, man, that one, and a lot of people were recommending the MK Ultra
Wormwood.
It's okay. I misunderstood. I thought it was going to be a TV show.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
And it was all right, but I'm watching. I was like, oh, this is like documentary style. But but yeah, I mean, there you go. There's your whole story with Frank Olson, and that's directly out of Walter Bowert's book, Mind Control.
Yeah, that one's pretty fascinating. I think we're about maybe 3 episodes into that. We're kind of working our way through that one slowly. We tried out, we tried a bunch of comedies. We tried out some stand-ups. The stand-ups are just really going downhill. My goodness.
Man, they're sucking bad because all the PC crap.
Yep. It's just amazing. And, people...
They killed it, man.
They did. They killed it. And it's like, I'm seeing people... verifying people sold out now that weren't sold out before, like Cat Williams and Dave Chappelle's real unfortunate turns for some of these guys to keep the bank accounts going, I guess, or keep their hearts pumping. I don't know. But I think...
So you mean sold out as in not in their tickets, like they themselves sold out?
Yeah, like, for example, we just saw a movie recently with Cat Williams in it, and we've discussed Cat Williams on Boiler Room before because, you know, he's been critical of the Hollywood structure of, you know, he's talked about the Illuminati and this kind of thing in the past, and now we watched this whole bad comedy movie where Cat Williams had this just ridiculous place in it, like they wrote him in for no reason. But he had the closing line in the movie. It was like this kitschy thing at the very end of the movie where Cat Williams just shows up giant on the screen and goes, "Oh, by the way, the Illuminati's real," you know, and it's just like, wow, okay. I thought, you know what I mean? Like,
so did he just jump on a meme basically to, you know, aid his career?
That's kind of I think he's been, for whatever reason, neutered into like treating that stuff like it's a joke and a meme exactly now, and we're seeing that trend across all kind of things on Netflix where it's like it's cool to downplay and mix message conspiracy theory and exopolitics.
Well, the Taco Bell commercial with
you said it right before me, Jay. Exactly.
Yeah.
That I saw that and I was like, wow, it's pop culture enough that they could do that. It's and clearly the positive effect of that is like someone like laughing at, oh yeah, that's that Illuminati elite bullshit stuff, right? And just sort of laugh and dismiss it. On a certain level, I get it, but I think that the people that are watching that and going, oh, what's all that about? Oh, it's like the Cat Williams stuff and all that, aren't getting that it's probably on purpose to make it that way, where it's just like you said, the perfect word for it is kitsch or whatever.
Right. Yeah, it's all a big joke. It's nothing but a bumper sticker or a hashtag. It's something that's funny to quip about in comedies, you know, regardless of the veracity of the concept or origin of the concept or how it might relate to current stuff going on. I mean, it's really weird. I mean, I think we'll probably do a more in-depth report on this, but just to kind of summarize my experience after absorbing many hours of Netflix and some new movies and some new stand-up comedies, it feels like Netflix and their production houses they're trying to capitalize on the massive fracturization that we were talking about in people's own psyches and among themselves when it comes to, you know, worldview type of stuff, and it's mixed messaging. You know what I mean? Like last year, it felt like it was just hardcore social justice and political correctness, and now what they're doing is that is still there, but they're also throwing in characters and dialogues and plot points that are counter to it, and gray and murky. So, for example, you might have a scene where a second wave feminist, a woman in maybe her 50s or 60s, is doing a slam poetry about how she hates political correctness, but then switching back and forth between, oh, I don't like the new political correctness because I'm not allowed to be my kind of feminist anymore, to, you know, crush the patriarchy type stuff. So there's just this weird mixing that's going in there, and it makes me think, okay, well, anyone with pretty much any low-grade packaged political identity or worldview can gravitate to certain characters and certain lines in the show, but there's something for everyone, but the message is totally mixed, and it's a message of chaos.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, draw them in and then kind of confuse. Yeah.
You know, because, like, I mean, here's another example. There's the latest Ashton Kutcher freak show on Netflix, and it's a farming situation where you've got,
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, you've got, you know, Sam
The Ranch or something.
Yeah, it's called The Ranch, and you've got Sam Elliott, you know, one of the like most alpha cowboy sort of gravel voice guys we got out there in Hollywood, and you know, he just reeks of Americana. And his two sons are played by, you know, these dudes from the 70s show, Ashton Kutcher and DJ Mom Jeans. I forget what his name is in real life. Hyde.
Hyde, yeah.
and they play all these, the setting is a rural American farming setting, which is, becoming a thing of the past anyways, so Hollywood can make with it what they want. But they throw in all these mixed messages where it's like Sam Elliott is your typical old school America loving, God, guns, and government sort of guy, and he means it. The character means it, but he's just made to be a clown all the time, by the younger people on the show, and it's really weird, I mean, these shows draw just about anybody in, and everybody will have moments of like, yay, I'm with that, or oh, that's funny, while someone else will be going, ooh, yeah, that's a burn on that character, and it shows that archetype is, not to be trusted, and as Oprah would say, we're just waiting for them to die.
There's definitely that, and I also think there's probably been a generational degradation of an actual Western cowboy type person, and so I'd go as far as to say that in addition to what you said, there's probably people in Denver that look the part and really don't know what it is. It's just sort of like how they grew up and they listen to pop country and they do this, that, and the other, and they're probably watching that and sort of like, or maybe even duped into being like, oh yeah, that's how I act. I go hang out at the bar. I talk stupid. I have low IQ, and I just talk about ranch things at a second grade level, and that's what I do.
Oh, dude, that's the other big one. Is it's cool to be stupid. It's really cool to be uninformed and dumber than a box of hammers. It's like Forrest Gump without the brain injury or whatever Forrest Gump was. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so cool to be dumb as long as, you're cute, you have...
You'll get... I've unfortunately, not by my choosing, I'll just say that, it's like on when I'm walking around the humble abode here every now and then, and I need to just wear headphones or go for a 20-mile run or something. I'm joking, but I can't take that show. But anyway, it'll be on every now and then, and I'll hear the lines, and they're like, it'll be like, "Oh, what? So you're saying I can't have another 6 drinks and wake up staring at the ceiling like?" Okay, everybody knows that that's cool in a certain way, right? You can't live your life without getting plastered once or twice or however the hell many. But they make it like that's like these people's existence.
Oh man!
All the time, every time. It's just ridiculous.
We were talking about that at the ranch. Literally every scene, it's a beer and a whiskey. Every freaking scene of the show.
Every character. Every scene. I mean,
beer and whiskey, beer and whiskey, beer and whiskey.
It's same with the Marvel shows. I'm noticing all the characters are drinking all the time. Like, it's just ridiculous. And smoking is all of a sudden cool again too on shows.
Like the tobacco kind?
Yeah. Well, both kinds now. I mean, that would be another big data point that I would throw out there, is that Netflix is fully engaged in the commercialization and corporatization of the marijuana plant now. They're totally engaged in that and just thriving on the mixed messages there. They've got this show where Kathy Bates plays like a Jewish matriarch of a pot store. I'm not even joking, and they revel in the fact that this is like a female Jewish feminist that runs the pot store, and her son is half black, and there's an Asian there. I mean, there's all these like token actors there, and they are going to great...
They basically did racist casting.
They totally... It's quota casting, there's no doubt about it, and the dumbing down that they're trying to apply to stoners, as if stoners needed it, is just ridiculous. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And they're also tying big time across shows. They're tying the idea of PTSD and marijuana. They really want veterans on marijuana for PTSD. They really want to convince everybody that all veterans have PTSD, and that if they're not on marijuana, they're probably going to be shooting people. And of course, anyone who's studied this knows that once you get a medical card in many states, you are not able, you're legally not able to buy a firearm anymore. So I think, there's a not so subtle operation happening there in the marijuana department, the PTSD department, how people view veterans. I mean, there's this show on Netflix. It's called Disjointed, the one I'm describing right now, and the security guard character is like an Iraq veteran, and they have these ridiculous like Pee Wee Herman, Cheech and Chong style animated shorts about him having post-traumatic stress syndrome, and the way that they display it, I would think would be insulting to military members who actually deal with that, because it's so cartoonized, not just literally, but you know what I mean? It's it just seems insulting. So lots of crazy mixed messages coming out of Hollywood this year. I think we can probably go more into that one, but I don't know. Do you guys want to go into overtime? Anybody got to get out of here?
Well, I think one last point on that is the Russian minister, I think it was either a foreign minister or minister of defense, said last year that Netflix was a psychological operation to spread globalism. And I think he's absolutely right.
It sure feels that way after going through their latest wares. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, isn't
that interesting, though, folks, that like the point that Jay, or the thing that Jay just said, sort of illustrates a sad point, is that a lot of times to understand what's going on here, you gotta unhook from all the propaganda that we're blitzed with and unplug from that and almost hear someone else's point of view from the outside looking in. How often that's like a more accurate take than what we hear inside, the friendly confines.
Right. Yep. Staggering. It is staggering.
But if you believe it, you're a shill.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, the thing about Netflix is that it's kind of, transnational, right? I mean, the CIA in the U.S. would broadcast Radio Liberty into the Eastern Bloc and all that, and certainly propaganda has occurred in wartime. But CBS, ABC, NBC, for a long time, those things were in the U.S. You couldn't watch that in Russia. But Netflix can promote every SJW message, every crazy message, everything it wants on the internet through, to people in Russia, to people in Estonia, to people in, Guam, to wherever.
Right.
I can't really get myself to watch Netflix anymore. I for the last year, I've just been totally separated, detached myself from Hollywood, I just got so turned off that I don't even have a desire to turn on the TV.
It's getting so bad, man. I mean, there's just really nothing good. The movies all suck. They're all SJW. They're all social. I mean, and you watch movies from the 80s and they're not that way. You know what? They say that whatever they want. They're not PC.
Yep.
It's funny. And it's just night and day.
It really is like my taste of music and movies. I think they stopped in the 90s, like maybe early 2000s. But like movies and music, I think they just keep going down every year.
Few and far between standout series and bands. I mean, I totally take your point, man. It's just all going downhill. And it's like you look at what movies get all the money these days. They're bad rip-offs of old comic books. That's where all the movie money goes. Those are the only ones that are selling. And who's in charge of that now? Walt Disney's in charge of that. And I've said it over and over again on Boiler Room. They're running out of stories from that 2000 to 2009 era when the stories were still good. And now we're getting into things like Marvel's Runaways, and they're completely mindless, storyless social justice tales. They're no longer, there used to be sort of a Joseph Campbell aspect to it. and that's all gone. That's all gone now. You can't even have your standard packaged hero's journey anymore.
Well, I mean, I think we'll come to a point where actually AI will start producing movies and music, and it's already happening right now. You know, I was actually like, I think last year I was watching just a deep learning network was creating music, composing music. You know, and I think what's going to happen is just you're going to have like an AI producing movies and music, and say, but you know, like I don't think there will be any new like human creativity coming into these things anymore.
Yeah, I think they want to end creativity. That's part of the technocratic plan.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
That's why they don't do music and art in school anymore. You know, you can't have that. You can't get young people excited about learning and making music or learning and making art, and have that stuff go away the way they want it to go.
That's
away.
in Brave New World. The arts aren't allowed. The only thing that's allowed is the Feelies, which is like a sex and gore fest movie.
Which you just reminded me of Equilibrium right there, where the arts are not allowed. Sort
Right,
of another version of THX a little bit.
Yeah,
too,
yeah. I have mixed feelings about Equilibrium because there's aspects of it that I like, but at the same time, it's also got this weird thing that as if Christianity is the global world order, you know, kind of like V for Vendetta. Excuse me, it's not Christians that are running the new world order. And so the same thing in Equilibrium is also just Brave New World plus 1984 plus The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some good parts to it.
I always found it fascinating that, and I think this is what they do in Equilibrium, is that the voice of it sort of reminded me of Oz, Wizard of Oz a little bit. The voice of quote unquote father was something that had been like generated over and over, like that person was not even alive anymore. It sort of had I think the main bad guy is the bad guy. He was real, but the image or the father figure had been like going over and over after the person himself was dead. That was kind of creepy.
And it's the Tetragrammaton, which is the name for God in the Bible in the Old Testament. So it's
they called him that in that movie.
Yeah, that's the bad guy is Tetragrammaton.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
It's God the Father, and they're saying that that's who runs this New World Order system, which is ridiculous.
Interesting. That's why you do what you do, Jay. I didn't put that together. I heard of the name Tetragrammaton before, but I didn't totally link it that way in that movie.
Yeah, that's the name of God in the Old Testament. So the movie was consciously choosing that just to kind of portray a Gnostic view.
All right, you guys, let's see. Does anybody have to go? Anybody want to go into overtime? Let's go around the room. Spore, you got any big plans? You got to go anywhere?
No, but I'm good.
All right. Jay, how about you? How's your night looking?
I can keep going.
All right. Infidel Pharaoh, what's going on with you, man? Are you still with us?
Yeah, man.
All right. Randy J.
Did you save me for last so that I can't flake out now?
Yeah.
All right, man, let's go.
Yeah, feel the pressure. We put the pressure on you. Okay, let's see here.
Because before we went on, I'm like, I'm sort of running on fumes right now. The heck with it. Let's go. You only live once.
That's
you
right.
sleep when you're dead, or however the phrase.
Sometimes the best shows are the ones where you're like, I don't know if I can make myself do it tonight.
ACR's mission is to continue to grow, evolve, and give you the best we can as a network. We've plans for a website relaunch, exclusive t-shirts and merchandise, brand new radio shows, and a lot more. But as a 100% independent listener-supported platform, we can't do any of this without all listeners' help. Please consider supporting ACR for as little as $1 a month via our donation link at alternatecurrentradio.com/donate. The real threat isn't Russia. The threat is from Silicon Valley and their continued attempts to snuff out platforms like ACR. Please support independent media and make our mission possible.
I'll be damned if I let some
foreign graffiti writing, soul sucking son of a bitch in an oversized cowboy hat and boots take my friends' souls and shit them down the visitor's toilet.
Let's see here. Okay, you want to talk shadow banning shitty people? How about that one? Anybody see?
What do you mean? What does that mean? You mean Project Veritas thing, or
yeah,
Project Veritas?
Exactly, the Veritas one. Let me.
I think I'm getting screwed over, man, because I was watching. You can use the Social Blade as a tool, and I was watching the stats. And a few days ago, I had on my channel 10,000 views that day, and I had 2 subscribers. Now, on days where I have a low video viewing of maybe 3, 4, 5,000, I get 30, 40, 50 subscribers. So there ain't no way I had over 10,000 views that day and 2 subscribers. It's just not. That's ridiculous. So, and you watch the numbers, they don't make sense. Like, they literally, something is just not making sense with these YouTube numbers.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, again, there's no way to absolutely prove it, and they have it that way on purpose. But if Twitter's doing it, I guarantee you YouTube's doing it.
Yep, and their own guy pointed out that, or one of their own guys pointed out that, yeah, this is crazy Big Brother stuff, and guess what? It's not even as crazy as what Google and Facebook are doing at this point. So, for anyone that hasn't heard it, let me just. I guess I'll start this. Let's play a clip just in case anyone out there hasn't heard this. Also, there's a great article up at 21stcenturywire.com called "Twitter Ramping Up Quote Unquote Shitty People Program, Shadow Banning of Speech It Doesn't Like." So you can go check that out at 21stcenturywire.com. And it's this is pretty crazy because there were a couple new Project Veritas videos that came out, and there's too long for me to play them all. But in one of them, Jay, there was a part where they described actually what that looks like, a shadow ban, and it's exactly like you were just saying. You still put your tweet out there or whatever it is, and it doesn't come up when people search it. It's not sponsored. It won't come up anywhere. But as far as you can tell, it looks like everything is normal.
And they got the power to do that because they hold all the levers and switches to the platforms because they are the platforms.
Exactly. So let's listen to a little bit of this.
We're trying to get the shitty people not to show up. It's a product thing.
Let's say it was a pro-Trump thing, and I am anti-Trump. I was like, I banned this whole account. It'll go to you, and then it's at your discretion. And if you're anti-Trump, you're like, oh, you know what, Mo was right. Let it go.
The idea of the shadow ban is that you ban someone, but they don't know they've been banned because they keep posting, but no one sees their content. So they just think that no one's engaging with their content when in reality no one's seeing it. I don't know if Twitter does this anymore.
How do you know if it's a bot and not a normal person?
You use machine learning. You look for Trump or America, and you have like 5,000 keywords to describe a redneck, and then you look and you parse all the messages, all the pictures, and then you look for stuff that matches that stuff.
So is it going to essentially ban certain mindsets and or people who could be negative?
No, it's not gonna ban a mindset. It's gonna ban a way of talking.
It's not going to ban a mindset. It's going to ban a way of talking.
It's going to create a mindset then by weeding out unwanted behavior.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say what I find fascinating is as exhibited in that soundbite that we just heard is how the liberal or left within all of our lifetimes went from something that would go nuts if that happened, if they heard something like that happening, on its fundamental basis of shaping or censoring thoughts and comments and everything else like that, how they would lose their shit. And then now that same category of people champion it. And to me, that means something fundamentally happened in a person on the left, in the traditional sense, just got like switched, as we all live and breathe, in our lifetimes. It's crazy to me.
It is. And that this expose proves that it is not only being done by algorithm and rudimentary keyword searches, themes and gists, but it is also being done by people. If you watch both of these latest reports, or newest, I don't know if they're the latest, but they're recent reports from Project Veritas, expose style, per usual, you will see Twitter people from their security staff and their, I don't know what they call the other group, but it's the one that the female was talking about in the beginning of that section there. You will see them admitting to having access to people's direct messages, to sharing them, to seeing everybody's photos. You'll hear them and see them admit that they keep everything, even things that have been deleted, are all on their servers forever, that they sell this information to whatever corporate entities they want, that they give this information and work on the regular with police and federal agencies to monitor people. All of these things are just laid out, admitted. You also see them they talk about a personal review program. One of those voices you heard there was a gentleman that was working with them, and he would personally review things that were flagged, and if they offended his politics, he would toss it out, shadow ban it, whatever.
And marry all of that up with this net neutrality thing that's just went down, and that is, maybe the sky is falling. I mean, it's where someone could pay, a giant corporation that has the money to pay can sort of fork over the money to Facebook like that. Oh, that would never happen. Sure, of course it would. Listen to how these people were talking right there. They'd love to choke out, what they perceive as the weeds or unwanted thoughts and ideas and all that other stuff, and just crush it simply by steamrolling it. And so if a startup or smaller website or podcast or whatever wants to get off the ground, they kind of can't. They're dead, because they can't even with that sort of attitude on one side, and then competing against these corporations that are multi-billion dollars that could just pay their way to you know what I mean? Because I think part of this net neutrality thing that went down is now the potential exists for someone with the biggest amount of money to get their stuff first in the search, on top of the fact that they might shadow ban people and all of that. It's like a double death knell almost, potentially.
No. Net neutrality has nothing to do with getting your stuff out in the search. Just
okay, go for it. Straighten me out.
Okay, so what you're talking about, getting your stuff out in the search, this is Google private company manipulating search results. Has nothing to do with net neutrality. What they are talking about basically was what Obama did. He basically was trying to put the internet as a utility, which in this case, it's regulated as a utility. Okay? All right. So what they did was this mandate that they removed is basically they took it out of being utility. And the reason I think the whole net neutrality debate was totally skewed. And the reason is, think about like Netflix, how much bandwidth a company like Netflix use, okay, compared to another website that does not use as much bandwidth. So basically what it's saying is, these companies like Netflix or these mega companies, they used to go to the network provider and they basically cut a deal with them, to assign like certain bandwidth or certain speeds to them, as a basically as a business deal. But it has nothing to do with hiding search results or manipulating search results.
Okay, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. Go ahead.
And if actually any network provider cannot slow one website relative to the other one, because there is actually rules. You can still go to the FCC. Sorry, there is the FTC and FCC, right?
Yes.
FCC, the ones I think you mean in this conversation, right. I believe.
Correct. So they moved it from the FCC back to the FTC, which is basically you can still go, actually, if you found any kind of discrimination against you, you can go complain through the FTC.
Okay.
But they want...
Okay. What I heard, and I might be misspeaking here or whatever, but what my understanding was, I might have misspoke actually right there, and then you clarified what I was sort of misstating earlier. But what I thought I heard at one point in time recently is that this deal that I believe is going before, I think it still needs to go before Congress, that the 5 FCC commissioners passed, so that I think what happens, if I'm not mistaken, is that it's going to free things up so that anybody could sort of compete. But if someone has more purchasing power, they already have more leverage than I do. Like, okay, if I wanted to start whatever .com, it might just get totally choked out because a bigger, a Walmart thing of the internet would could just come in and out purchase me to get themselves put up front. So maybe I'm misunderstanding. I'm gonna shoot myself in the head on this one and say I need to look into it a little bit more.
You're gonna eat your shoe.
But Google can screw you over. If you're talking about net neutrality, Facebook, Twitter, and Google should be broken down and put under like scrutiny from the government.
Right, but they are the government, and that's why they're not being put under scrutiny. And
technically they're not.
They're all out there admitting it right now too. I mean, Twitter is admitting it. Their employees are admitting it on these videos that they give the government every request that they ask for, and they have dedicated departments. Zuckerberg is on record saying that he's going to put, or maybe already has begun putting, a classified network in somewhere in the Facebook collective, Borg Laboratories, whatever, and we've discussed that on Boiler Room before, and the ramifications of that. That is not a small thing, being a public, supposedly a public social media information technology provider, and having a secret internet classified lab on your premises. That's a whole nother can of worms. So they're out there, and that's why there's this topic of net neutrality, because it's all about monopolizing public infrastructure, and that's what they want to be able to do. They want to be able to continue to monopolize legally these things that should be public infrastructures, but they're not. They're trying to figure out ways to not treat them as such.
Correct. And this net neutrality law that Obama put basically give a chance for a company like Netflix to make like crazy amount of profit because they don't have to pay for the amount of traffic that's going to them.
Right.
So
and how how convenient is it that Netflix programs are now showing, actively including in the program, things like Facebook Live, like YouTube channels. There are characters on Netflix productions now that are playing YouTubers, that are playing people that use Facebook Live. And, so all this is marrying up. It's all meshing up, and you can see how these kind of deals are made when you see that kind of stuff included in your entertainment programming.
And that would be no surprise to me, like we've seen with different giant banks and everything else like that these different tech things down the road here continue to sort of merge or partner up and everything. Yeah,
it is really dangerous. Like this, I think this is the biggest danger right now is this information that they are, because like what allowed like something like 2016 to happen, this election, is the internet and social media. And this is why they came out to this freak, is like, how can we contain this? How can we prevent this from happening again,
Yeah, we'll call them shitty people and we'll shadow ban them. That's how.
That's it.
We'll populate the entire corporate structure of this IT company with people of a singular political mind, and we will use it against people on behalf and the behest of the government and corporate entities in Hollywood, and that's what they're doing. Let me read this real quick for you, Jay. This totally sums up like what you were talking about. Here's a good case study. This happened to our friends at 21 Wire. I'm reading from this article here. One of the most interesting aspects of this debate is how these corporations practice the art of plausible deniability, essentially dismissing the claims by saying it's not a liberal or a conservative filter. It's just about harassing and violent speech, as one tech outlet attempts to explain, and there's a link there. In reality, it's a facade designed to erase dissenting opinion that doesn't fit with the mainstream narrative, and particularly when it comes to anti-war speech and criticizes the current Russia-mania craze dominating the current mainstream media landscape. Even 21 Wire has experienced shadow banning on Twitter. There's a picture there that shows this. Last July, they retweeted a tweet from Robert Perry's Consortium News account. He tweeted an article from his website that criticized the New York Times on their one-sided Russiagate hysteria. 21 Wire's retweet never appeared on the 21 Wire timeline. We certainly didn't see it there. Did anyone else? If so, how many of our followers? Very shitty. So, there you go, mainstream media. You've taken the word shit to the next level, and now us only using it once in an article is pretty grandpa-ish, grandpa-esque. So there you go. I mean, it's a great example of it. Just a simple retweet that never shows up on your timeline. That's the situation we're dealing with Silicon Valley here. Just listen to the videos on Veritas. I urge people to go check those out. They're a good 15 minutes each, probably.
No, and it's way worse than that.
Oh yeah.
It's not, I mean,
it's like
I think Spore was right. What she said a couple of boiler rooms back was that. I mean, I'm not saying I'm famous. I'm not, but they probably are picking out people and banning them for stupid stuff. Like, what I'm going to be 5 months now banned from Facebook.
Yeah, just a rotating ban, a never-ending, possibly rotating ban.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right, Jay. I think they got enough sick amount of profits that they could put a room full of people with their college degrees or whatever, just sitting around basically just scouring the internet and sort of, check this person out, and then looking at who that person talks to or who that person tweets to, or this person thinks like this. Well, and they could do it to a lot of people.
It's probably set up to where a significant chunk of profiles go into a certain file or category or grouping based on influence, because there were articles coming out in the internet 4 or 5 years ago saying that social media would be used to track terrorists and how the terrorists interacted with other people and who had influence and this kind of crap, all of which was nonsense because it was all about us. That's who it was really about. So, and again, it's not that I am particularly important. I'm still a relatively small voice, but the idea is more so who could potentially grow, who actually puts out information that influences other prominent people. So you see what I'm saying? It's not just about who has the most number of Twitter followers or who has the most number of Facebook likes or whatever. That's not really the biggest issue. It's more so who can influence people politically and philosophically.
Right, and they could look at people cumulatively. Right, the smaller podcasts, medium, all the way up to the bigger ones, and they could. I mean, they got the resources to just throw money at a department or X amount of people, contract it out, whatever they want to do, and they won't even the money's it's not even missed. They could they could light a match to it and get that type of results. I absolutely believe that's going on.
You know why they have so much money too? Twitter employees say, quote, "We make most of our money selling data from everything you post, even private direct messages." So Twitter is right out there just gawking and mocking everybody from their little bar top stools in San Jose or San Francisco, wherever they're hanging out, just laughing that their company is stealing all your data and selling it to advertisers. They literally provide nothing that, anybody could design a Twitter clone. There's Gab out there. There already are Twitter clones out there. But the fact of the matter is they are making a killing by profiling everybody that's on the platform and then selling that information to companies who will then use it in who knows what kind of ways, every kind of way imaginable to profile you further and to try to make money off of you. So it's like they're taking everybody's data. That's the commodity. Your personal information, your private direct messages. They're even talking about the photos of people's genitals that they are sharing to each other on Twitter and keeping that and selling it. So this is the kind of profiling that's happening, and they love it. They think it's funny. They think it's great, and they have plenty of money to employ more, to use their own term, shitty people to sit there and do this. And what they're doing, it's not even... This is the kind of way that you create dissension amongst people. You try to silence people. You try to silence conversations, and people will get louder and they will get angrier. You're only proving their point when you take this route.
Yep, and new platforms come out. I've been recently using a new search engine called DuckDuckGo. I don't know if anyone used it or not.
I do.
It's really... Yeah, I've been using it, instead of Google, and I'm sure another platform will come out and replace something like Twitter if they kept doing what they are doing, But something like always freaked me out about the selling. Since you're talking about selling private data, is target ads, Like I'm an Amazon shopping for something, and then I go back to read the news, and then I see all these ads on this website basically related to what I was searching in Amazon, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
On a different device, right? So that's the old cloud thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Working in
devices.
full effect.
Across devices, and we've seen cases where it just happens from personal conversations being had around devices. Just amazing. All right, let's switch gears really quick here, you guys. I'm going to rapid fire a couple things. Here's another article to be aware of at 21st Century Wire. Nothing funny. Disgusting pictures of comedian Jerry Seinfeld at anti-terror fantasy camp in the occupied West Bank. Did you guys hear about this?
No.
All right. American comedian Jerry Seinfeld.
I saw the article.
Yeah, this is crazy. American comedian Jerry Seinfeld and his family recently toured the Caliber 3 facility located inside an illegal Israeli settlement in the occupied West Bank, featuring special programs for tourists seeking a taste of the Israeli military experience, according to the anti-terrorist training camp outfit's official Facebook page. Finally, we are allowed to tell you the legendary Jerry Seinfeld and his family were in Caliber 3. During their visit to Israel last week, they came to us for shooting training with displays of combat, Krav Maga, assault dogs, and lots of Zionism. It was great. That's a quote. A stream of disgusting pictures were also posted to Caliber 3's Facebook page, including scenes of Seinfeld and family, kids, posing jubilantly with what appears to be IDF military personnel. And these pictures are up at 21stcenturywire.com. It goes on. Common Dreams reports that Caliber 3 facility is located in the Gush Easton region of the occupied West Bank within an Israeli settlement deemed illegal under international law, where it operates a counterterrorism and security training academy that in recent years has built on its expertise to create a new line of business, special programs for tourists seeking a taste of the Israeli military experience. And what a horrific menu of anti-terror fantasy activities on offer. Get this, Caliber 3 offers basic package, which includes a simulation of a suicide bombing in a Jerusalem marketplace, immediately followed by a stabbing attack, a live demonstration with attack dogs, and a sniper tournament. The cost of this basic package is $115 per adult and $85 per child, with discounts available for large groups. So,
now, but once upon a time, we talked about comedy earlier. That concept of the actual real life features of that thing would be a skit.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh no, that's real. Yeah, you could go over there and well, that's
I know. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I'm at a loss.
Can you imagine the video presentation for it? It would go something like
okay, it's time for the suicide bombing. Time for the dog attack. Oh, are you guys ready for a fun stabbing? Nice segues. Great. Okay, Seinfeld. I'm just kind of
at a loss for words. So you can go to terror fantasy camp in Israel if you can get yourself there and get your shekels in order.
That seems in poor taste, man, to me. I mean, just all the way. To even put that out there. I just don't get it. Even if you're a hardcore, Zionist, right? And if that was your stick, how could you put that out there where you're like, what is it? They're like shooting. Did I hear that one part right? Where they were like doing a simulation of an attack or something like that?
Yes. Let's see here. Yeah, you can. The basic package includes a simulation of a suicide bombing, immediately followed by a stabbing attack, an attack dog demonstration, and a sniper tournament, whatever that means.
Sniper tournament. Oh my God. I mean, it seems again, if you're like some hardcore, Zionist person or whatever, even if that was your stance, it seems to me like that's sort of disrespectful to yourself too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm kind of at a loss for words on that one. Anybody want to comment on that before we move on? Going once, going twice. All right. Seinfeld, you are out of here, man. Get the hell out of the boiler room.
You're fired.
Seinfeld, you've just been fired. I was actually kind of digging Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, too. I still like that show sometimes, but man, it's going to be hard to watch after that one. All right, you guys. Well, hey, we're in massive overtime here. We probably got to shut it down soon. Before we go, though, I would also like to point people to a new, well, it's semi-new at this point, article from Mark Anderson up at 21stCenturyWire.com as well. Exclusive, after Bundy trials celebrated dismissal, fate of remaining defendants, land rights issues still in question. I urge everybody to go check this out, especially those of you that have been following Boiler Room and may have heard the last couple updates on this. Mark Anderson has submitted a really nice piece here. And the good news, folks, is that the judge has dismissed the case and there is going to be no retrial for Cliven Bundy. But there's still some interesting things that are worth watching, and I recommend people go check out that article. And congratulations to Cliven there on not having to deal with a retrial. That's very good news. All right, let's see here. I've only got one other thing, you guys, but I'm thinking about saving it for next week. So let's go around the room. I'm going to go to Jay Dyer first. Jay, man, I'm glad you're able to join us this week, and I'll give it over to you for any final thoughts, saved rounds, or things to look for in the next coming week here.
The popular YouTuber or Twitter person and America First media guy, Nick Fuentes, and I should have a debate. Nick is a committed Catholic, and I think he is willing to do a debate between Orthodox theology and Catholicism, so that should be a good exposure, attention getter. He has a pretty big audience, so I don't know when that'll be, maybe in the next week, and hopefully I can finish Esoteric Hollywood 2 in the next week or two.
Excellent. All right. I know people are looking forward to that, and we'll keep an eye out for the debate. Let us know when it's going to happen. Maybe we can simulcast it for you or something like that. Let us know if you need any help.
We may do that. Are you guys familiar with Nick Fuentes?
I wasn't until I saw your tweets. Okay. No, generally speaking, I'm not. But it looks like it could be. Finally got a taker on that one, so it could be a good discussion.
Hope so.
Excellent. All right, great. So everybody get out there and become a subscriber at jaysanalysis.com. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. Hit that bell, and just go visit it often, because some days it may not show up on your YouTube feed. We've got to make these manual operations because of shadow banning in many cases here. So we're all being affected by it. So who knows? We may have to go old school and set an alarm to remind yourself to go to all your favorite websites, because they aren't going to pop up in your Twitter feed sometimes, unfortunately. Thanks for being with us tonight, Jay. Looking forward to next week. Hope you can join us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. There he goes, everybody. That's Jay Dyer. Hey, Jay, are you still there?
Yep.
Okay, before we go, I do want to just mention quickly, anybody have any thoughts on Adam Kokesh getting snapped up by the cops this week? Because
I saw that yesterday, and I watched his girlfriend's video, and I didn't really see anything beyond that. I don't know any more than what she said in her video.
My favorite tweet was someone tweeted that video of his girlfriend, and he says, "Isn't this like?" I'm paraphrasing, but he said, "Isn't this like the third girlfriend of Adam's I've seen explain why he's in jail?"
Yeah, I was going to say exactly.
That was a crack up. Whoever did that was an A+ tweet right there.
Apparently,
so did he get out and explain what happened, or I haven't kept up?
I think he's still in.
Yeah, last I heard, he was still in. And if anybody is just learning this or hasn't heard about it yet, you can go to Adam's YouTube page, and you can actually experience it with him. He live streamed two encounters with, I think it was the Highway Patrol. And the first encounter was relatively short and easy, and the second one did not end well. It ended with a drug dog being carted around his RV and him being told to turn off his live stream and getting arrested. So he was arrested. It looks like there are 2 or 3 drug charges and 1 charge of probably trying to hide them, judging by the name charges. So, yeah, Adam is up a creek at the moment, and there's a lot of speculation going around on the internet. Spore, what'd you think about that? Let our listeners know what happened and what people are speculating about.
Okay, so I have like some email list that I'm on, and I received an email about this right away, and it was sensationalized immediately as Adam Kokesh just registered to run for president in 2020 and was immediately arrested afterwards for no reason. And, as it comes out, it turns out he had drugs on him. He was speeding in Texas, and, cops didn't take kindly to that. Now, maybe there's a correlation for him registering to run for president and him having weed on him while he's speeding through Texas. But it seemed to me like it wasn't necessarily related, but we'll give him a lot of publicity in the meantime.
Yeah.
Maybe he got too excited.
It's interesting to watch the way that he rolls when he's being contacted by the highway patrol. He does his thing, He does what Adam Kokesh does, and he talked to them and tried to have conversation with them about, the government being between him and them and how that wasn't right. And, he got very Kokesh philosophical on them and gave the officer a copy of his book and, free sticker, stuff like that, encouraged them to read it. And I would argue that going for new YouTube subscribers while you're going through that experience might not be the right time or place. But bless his heart, he's committed.
I didn't actually see the video, but from my understanding, it seemed kind of obvious that he got caught with some weed, but he also hid some drugs or flushed it down a toilet in his RV or something like that as well.
Well, obvious might be a little strong, but it is curious that there's a point in the video where he pauses the stream for a moment while he's talking about not driving around with contraband. So,
wasn't there a charge for obstructing?
Yeah, there's
obstructing evidence or something like that.
Attempt to mess with evidence, something like that. So, one has to wonder if maybe there was something there and he tried to flush it down the old RV toilet or something like that. I don't know. But I think it's a little much to just assume that because he says he's going to run for a Libertarian Party presidential candidate in 2020 that's the reason he was pulled over, because he was going 74 and a 65. He was driving an RV that he had no paperwork for, and I don't think...
Won't that speak to his base, though?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Later on?
Oh, they love that. That's the thing.
I got taken down for the cause.
That whole, sovereign citizen rap, those people love that stuff. It's, Adam versus the man. That's his thing. And, no offense, Adam, but it almost, to me, looked like you were trying to get arrested. You couldn't try much harder. Driving a vehicle that you don't have registered in your name with no insurance card, no proof of purchase.
And the tags, right? They were
temporary tags.
Expired?
Temporary. Yeah, I think they were still good tags. They were temp tags, but they weren't in his name. And he had none of his paperwork in order. And, unless, some grand conspiracy is afoot here and someone planted that stuff on him, then and that's just Adam versus the man. Adam's word versus the man's word. We'll probably never know, but Adam is a marijuana advocate, so I don't think it's too outlandish to think that he might have been rolling with some stash.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Texas is not a marijuana advocate.
It is not.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a friendly state for stoners, that's for sure. Yeah. So I don't know what to think of it. I think that there were a few.
Yeah, he was definitely a Hobbit in Mordor on that one.
Yeah. Well, there were a few blips on the old decision-making roster that really could have just been his downfall here. And I don't know. I just think it's not the right time or place, and it could be construed as disrespectful to talk to the cops the way he did. And I got to wonder if that didn't play a factor into it. I don't know. It's pop some popcorn and watch it. It's a 26-minute long video. You can see how this process works. Make your own decisions. But we are talking about a guy that has tried to get arrested before to make statements and do publicity. So
gets him a lot of attention.
Hey,
it may, a lot more people will know about him when he runs for president.
Got to get those subs, man.
Can you even run as a president if you're a felon?
I don't think so. I was wondering that too.
You can't.
This pretty much kills that whole thing.
Well,
no, but you could commit felonies as a president. That you can.
That's a whole, and then you can pardon yourself.
Does any of that have a felony though? That sounds like misdemeanors to me.
No, there's I don't have the wording.
Someone was posting there's 2 drug-related felonies. And
those are
tampering
felonies?
was evidence.
Well, there's misdemeanor marijuana possession under 2 ounces, and then there's 2 other drug charges, I believe, and one of them is in the like heroin category. So people are speculating that might have been a pharmaceutical pill,
geez.
OxyContin or something like that. Maybe I'm just throwing one out there. It's from that family. Who knows?
Opiate.
Yeah. So and I think that there was another one in the schedule category includes hallucinogens, perhaps. So I don't know. I mean, maybe he was running a party bus. He was on his way to a Bitcoin conference, and
wow,
yeah,
he had some things to sell. Want to get some Bitcoins, eh?
Who knows? Adam,
gotta go make that Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yep. Well,
Bitcoin.
He's got a pretty large audience, and a lot of people really like Adam, and he's a talented presenter. We wish him the best. Really sorry that happened, and folks, maybe I don't know, maybe just try to say as little as possible and be respectful when you get contacted by the cops, because it does not serve you to push your political thoughts on them. Apparently, it didn't work for Adam when he versus the man this time. So, I don't know what else to say about that one. All right. Anybody else? Any thoughts on that one?
Nope.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, you guys. We are going to get out of here. We're going to shut the boiler room down. I want to thank everybody for being here for this extra long overdrive. We went into overdrive to kind of try to catch up. There's still things we didn't get to talk about, but you know what? I really don't want to talk about Oprah.
I know.
Some of our listeners think she actually has a shot. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But we'll save that for another time. I'm all laughed out. I don't think I could laugh any harder at this point. But who knows? Maybe I will have to eat my Vans along with Randy J someday when Oprah.
Beware of the Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama ticket.
Oh,
yeah! Everyone get a free car.
Yeah, exactly. It's under your chair. The keys are under your chair. All right, Spore. You got any final thoughts, saved words? New episodes of Anarchy with Spore coming out.
Oh yeah, actually, I'm going to be doing a police tribute tomorrow.
All right.
And then next week, I'm going to be doing my special listener request, Anarchy with Spore. And that one, if anybody wants to add to my list here, just email me at spore@alternatecurrentradio.com. And that one's going to be a live one, so it's not going to be like smooth transitions. But you can jump in the chat and make a request, and I'll play that one for you.
All right. Request night on Anarchy with Spore. That'll be a first. I'm excited for that. And this week, the police. Excellent. I would also like to note that Craig and Aaron from Radiant Creators are going to be joining our mixtape crew. Craig has a Hendrix mix that he's submitted to ACR, and we're going to premiere that this Saturday.
Tomorrow.
So, yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah.
That means I got some work to do. I got to get the page up for it and everything. So, everybody go check out radiantcreators.com. They do great interviews and very cool inspirational podcasts, and now cool mixtapes along with Funk Soul, Lovely Spore, Randy J, and of course for you neck wreckers, Hesher Session late Saturday nights. And that's what's going to happen this Saturday over here at Alternate Current Radio. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Thank you, Spore.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Jay Dyer out there. I know you've left the room, but thanks. Great show tonight. And all you Jay's Analysis listeners, what's up? Join us every week for Boiler Room here at alternatecurrentradio.com. Randy J, thanks for being here tonight, man.
You betcha.
Yeah, we'll do it again. We'll do it again soon. Infidel Pharaoh, once again, crushing it on the Boiler Room. Thank you.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. Cheers. There they go, everybody.